Ladies and gentlemen, today we are beyond honored to sit down with one of the most luminous stars in the history of cinema, an actress whose grace, power, and versatility have shaped the golden age of Hollywood and beyond. Yes, joining us is the legendary Ingrid Bergman, an Academy Award-winning icon, a master of nuance, and a name that will forever shine in cinematic history.
Oh, thank you so much. What a lovely introduction. I feel truly honored to be here, and it's such a joy to speak with people who still hold these stories close to their hearts. I've had a long and wonderful journey, full of unforgettable roles, brilliant co-stars, and visionary directors. Today I'm delighted to revisit some of my favorite memories, not just from my own films, but from the entire world of cinema I so dearly love. So thank you to all of you listening. I hope you enjoy this marathon of memories and movies as much as I've enjoyed living them.
There's so much we want to know. Your incredible film career, the legendary people you've worked with, your favorite moments on and off set. Shall we dive into it all?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I'm so happy to be here. Let's go on. I'm ready. There's a lot to talk about, and I'm excited to share it with you all.
Now, Ingrid, let's take a look at the films that are closest to your heart. You've given us so many unforgettable performances, but if you had to choose, what would you say are your top 10 films that truly stayed with you? Ah, that's such a difficult question. Truly, all of my films are dear to my heart in one way or another. Each role brought its own challenges, its own memories, and wonderful people. But, since you've asked, I'll share the 10 that mean the most to me personally, not because they were the most popular, but because of the journey, the characters, and the experiences behind them. True, which film do you place at number 10?
Ah, yes, Journey to Italy. That film is very close to my heart, not only because of the role, but because it was directed by Roberto, my husband at the time. It was a deeply personal experience.
You played Catherine Joyce. What drew you to that character?
Catherine was a woman lost in a foreign land and in her marriage. I was fascinated by her quiet desperation, her longing for connection, and her emotional transformation. She didn't scream. She didn't shout. Her pain was internal. That's what made her so compelling.
Was it challenging to play such a subtle, emotionally rich role?
Yes, very much so. Roberto directed in a way that felt almost like a documentary. We had very little rehearsal, no strict script. It was improvisational. That made it more honest, more raw. But it also meant I had to be deeply in tune with Catherine's emotions at every moment.
That sounds incredibly demanding. Did you enjoy working with that freedom?
I did. It was frightening, of course, because as actors we often want structure. But Roberto believed in capturing life as it is in its natural rhythm. I trusted him completely, and that trust gave me the freedom to discover Catherine from within.
The film wasn't well received at first, right?
Oh, no, it wasn't. It was almost ignored in Italy and misunderstood elsewhere. Critics didn't know what to make of it. It was too quiet, too realistic. But now it's considered a masterpiece of modernist cinema.
How does that delayed recognition feel?
It's bittersweet. Of course, it's wonderful to know your work has stood the test of time, but artists are always a little ahead or behind their moment. I'm proud that the film finally found its audience.
Did you and Roberto expect the film to be groundbreaking?
We didn't think about it in those terms. We just wanted to make something real, something that spoke to the complexity of human relationships. I think that honesty is why the film resonates today.
The Neapolitan setting played such a big role. How did it influence your performance?
Tremendously. Naples has this ancient energy. Death and life are side by side. That paradox is exactly what Catherine is experiencing. The ruins, the volcano, the rituals, they weren't just background. They were mirrors of her inner world.
What about your co-star, George Sanders? How was it working with him?
George was wonderful. He had such a dry wit and elegance, but he brought such depth to the role of Alex. We had to play a couple that was both distant and tender, and he walked that line beautifully.
What's one scene you remember vividly from the shoot?
The final scene where Catherine breaks down and begs for connection. It wasn't rehearsed. Roberto's just told me to walk with George through the crowd and see what happened. When we embraced, it felt real. I was crying not as Catherine, but as a woman who had finally released something.
That moment was so powerful. Many say it was the birth of modern European cinema.
Yes, that's what people say now. Back then, it was just us trying to make an honest film. But I see it now. Journey to Italy was a turning point, not just in film, but for me as an actress.
Would you say it changed your artistic outlook?
Absolutely. After that film, I realized that vulnerability is strength. Silence can be louder than words, and that stories don't need to be grand. They just need to be true.
That's beautifully said. Any final thought on Journey to Italy?
Only that I'm grateful people now see its worth. It reminds me that art finds its time. Sometimes late, but always when it's ready.
Ingrid, at number 9 on your list, is a film that really shows a different, softer side of you. The Bells of St. Mary's from 1945. You played Sister Mary Benedict. What can you tell us about this role in the film?
The Bells of St. Mary's was such a special film for me. Playing Sister Mary Benedict allowed me to explore a warmth and gentleness that is very different from some of my more intense roles. She is nurturing, compassionate, a true maternal figure.
How did you prepare to portray a nun with such depth and kindness?
I spent time learning about the daily life and spiritual dedication of nuns. But more than that, I wanted to capture Sister Mary Benedict's human side. Her kindness, her struggles, her humor. She's not just a symbol of faith, she's a real woman with a big heart.
The film's tone is quite uplifting and heartfelt. How did that atmosphere affect your performance?
It was wonderful to work in a film that embraced hope and faith during such a challenging time. The mid-1940s, right after the war, the story brought comfort to many people, and I felt a great responsibility to honor that.
You starred opposite Bing Crosby, who played Father Chuck O'Malley. How was your chemistry with him on set?
Bing was charming and effortless. Our characters had a playful but profound dynamic, a bit of friendly rivalry mixed with mutual respect. Bing's warmth made it easy for me to portray Sister Mary Benedict's affectionate yet spirited nature.
Did you find similarities between your character and yourself?
I think so. Sister Mary Benedict's determination to help children and her belief in the goodness of people resonate with me. I admire that steadfast kindness, and it was inspiring to bring that to life.
The film is also a sequel of sorts to Going My Way. Did you watch that first before taking on this role?
Yes, I watched Going My Way to understand the world the characters inhabited. It was important to respect the tone and spirit of the original film while bringing my own touch to Sister Mary Benedict.
What themes in the Bells of St. Mary's do you think make it timeless?
Faith, hope, and community, these are universal themes. The film shows how love and kindness can heal wounds and bring people together. That message feels just as relevant today as it did then.
Was there a particular scene that stood out to you during filming?
Yes, the scenes with the children were always memorable. There's a beautiful moment when Sister Mary Benedict comforts a troubled boy. It was touching to play those interactions because they showed the real heart of the character.
How did audiences react to your portrayal of Sister Mary Benedict?
The response was very warm. Many viewers told me that Sister Mary Benedict felt like a comforting presence. It was lovely to know that the character could offer that kind of solace.
You're known for playing strong women in many films, but here you show vulnerability and softness. How did that balance work for you?
I believe strength can come from gentleness. Sister Mary Benedict is strong in her convictions and kindness. Playing her taught me that vulnerability is not weakness. It's a different kind of power.
Did you find working on this film different from your other projects around that time?
Definitely. The atmosphere on set was more relaxed, more collaborative. We were all committed to creating a story that uplifted people after the hardships of World War II. That gave the film a very special spirit.
What was it like working with director Leo McCarey?
Leo is a genius at blending humor and heart. He encouraged natural performances and had a gentle way of guiding us to the emotional truth of each scene. His vision shaped the film's warmth and charm.
How did you connect with Sister Mary Benedict's spiritual journey?
I think her faith is portrayed very realistically, not as perfection, but as a continuous journey. She has doubts and frustrations, but always returns to her belief in goodness and redemption. That felt very true and relatable.
The film mixes light-hearted moments with serious themes. How did you approach that tonal balance?
It was a delicate balance, but Leo made it feel natural. Sister Mary Benedict uses humor as a way to cup and connect with others. Playing those lighter moments made her more human and accessible.
Did working on this film influence your choices in later roles?
It reminded me of the importance of heart and storytelling. No matter how dramatic or complex a role, I always try to find the humanity at its core. Something the Bells of St. Mary's reinforced beautifully.
Looking back, what does the Bells of St. Mary's mean to you personally?
It represents kindness, hope, and the power of faith in everyday life. It was a chance to show a gentle strength that touched many hearts, including mine.
Ingrid, moving on to your film that holds the 8th spot on your list, what is it?
That would be Joan of Arc from 1948. Playing Joan was one of the most intense and personal experiences of my career.
Joan of Arc is such a monumental historical figure. What drew you to this role?
I was drawn to her courage and spiritual depth. Joan's story is about faith and sacrifice, and I felt a strong connection to those themes.
How did you prepare to portray such a legendary and complex character?
I immersed myself in historical research, reading about Joan's life, her trial, her visions. but more importantly, I tried to understand her inner world, her fears, her strength, her sense of divine mission.
This was a dramatic shift from some of your other roles. Did you find it challenging?
Absolutely. Joan is a character who must embody both vulnerability and fierce determination. Balancing those extremes was emotionally demanding but deeply rewarding.
How did you approach the spiritual aspect of Joan's journey on screen?
I approached it with great reverence. Joan's faith is the core of who she is. To portray that authentically, I had to convey an unwavering belief that transcended her human fears.
Did the role change your own perspective on faith or spirituality?
Yes, profoundly. Playing Joan made me reflect on the nature of conviction and sacrifice in my own life and the power of standing firm in what you believe.
How was it working with the director Victor Fleming on this project?
Victor was extraordinary. He brought a grand vision to the film, but was also very attentive to the emotional nuances of the characters. He pushed me to explore Joan's inner turmoil deeply.
You earned an Oscar nomination for this role. How did that recognition feel?
It was an honor, but more than the award, I treasured the opportunity to bring Joan's story to life and connect with audiences on such a profound level.
Were there any particular scenes that were especially memorable or difficult to film?
The trial scenes were particularly intense. Portraying Joan's courage in the face of condemnation required digging deep emotionally. Also, the moments of prayer and visions needed a quiet, internalized performance.
Joan of Arc is a symbol of courage for many. Did you feel a responsibility to honor that legacy?
Yes, deeply. Joan's legacy is monumental, and I felt a sacred duty to respect her story with dignity and truthfulness.
How did you connect emotionally with Joan's youth and innocence?
I tried to tap into the purity and hope of a young woman facing unimaginable challenges. That innocence, combined with fierce resolve, was key to making Joan real.
Was there a particular message you hoped viewers would take from the film?
I hoped they'd see the power of faith and courage, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. Joan's story is timeless in its call to stand for what's right.
How did the costume and setting help you get into character?
The armor and period costumes were transformative. They helped me physically feel Joan's strength and vulnerability. The sets also grounded me in the historical reality.
Did you experience any personal challenges during filming?
Emotionally, yes, the role demanded intense focus and sometimes left me drained, but the support of the cast and crew made it manageable.
What was it like working with a supporting cast on such a heavy historical drama?
Everyone was incredibly dedicated. The atmosphere was serious but supportive. We all knew we were part of something significant.
Did playing Joan influence how you viewed your future roles?
It did. It deepened my appreciation for roles that challenged me emotionally and spiritually. I saw characters with complexity and depth afterward.
Looking back, how do you feel about your performance in Joan of Arc?
I'm proud of it. It was a demanding role that pushed me to grow as an actress and as a person. Joan's story will always stay with me.
Finally, would you recommend this film to new audiences?
Definitely, it's a powerful story about faith, bravery, and sacrifice. Values that never go out of style. I hope viewers find Joan's spirit inspiring.
Ingrid, now let's talk about your film that holds the 7th position on your list. What movie is it?
That would be For Whom the Bell Tolls from 1943, where I played Maria.
A beautiful and intense wartime romance. What drew you to the role of Maria?
Maria's story is one of hope and resilience amid the horrors of war. She's a character full of vulnerability but also incredible strength. I was drawn to that complexity and the emotional depth required.
This film was adapted from Ernest Hemingway's novel. Did that influence how you approached the role?
Definitely, Hemingway's writing is rich with detail and emotion. Understanding his portrayal of Maria helped me grasp her motivations and fears deeply.
How was it working opposite Gary Cooper?
Gary was a wonderful partner on screen. He brought a quiet intensity to the role of Robert Jordan, which complemented Maria's emotional journey perfectly. We had great chemistry that I believe translated well to the screen.
What was the atmosphere like on set during filming?
It was quite intense, given the film's themes. The story of love during wartime carries a lot of emotional weight. Everyone was committed to capturing that reality authentically.
Maria's character goes through a lot emotionally. How did you prepare to portray that range?
I focused on Maria's background, her trauma, and her courage. She has moments of fear, longing, and fierce determination. To embody that, I tapped into a broad spectrum of emotions to make her real and relatable.
Were there any scenes that stood out as particularly challenging or memorable?
Yes, the scenes where Mary reveals her past were very emotional. They required me to be raw and vulnerable. Also, the intimate moments with Robert Jordan were pivotal in conveying the depth of their love amidst chaos.
The film blends romance and war. How did you balance those elements in your performance?
That balance was crucial. Murray's love for Robert is a beacon of light in dark times. I aim to show how love can be a source of strength even in the most devastating circumstances.
Did filming on location affect your portrayal?
Yes, the rugged landscapes and Arctic settings brought a sense of realism that influenced how I connected with Maria's experiences.
How did the director, Sam Wood, guide you in shaping Maria's character?
Sam was very supportive and gave me the freedom to explore Maria's emotional depths. He emphasized subtlety and sincerity, which helped ground the performance.
What was it like working with such a powerful and politically charged story?
It was humbling. The story honors sacrifice and commitment to a cause greater than oneself, which added gravity to every scene.
Did you receive any feedback from audiences about your portrayal of Maria?
Yes, many people told me they found Maria's story inspiring and heartfelt, which was very rewarding.
Looking back, how do you feel about your role in For Whom the Bell Tolls?
I feel grateful. It was a role that challenged me artistically and emotionally, and I'm proud of the film's lasting impact.
Did playing Maria affect your outlook on life or love?
It did. Maria's courage in the face of fear reminded me of the resilience love can inspire even in difficult times.
How does this film fit within your overall body of work?
It represents a significant chapter, a blend of historical drama and romance that allowed me to explore new emotional territory.
Would you recommend this film to new viewers today?
Absolutely, its themes of loss and hope remain universal and timeless.
Ingrid, moving on to your sixth favorite film, could you tell us about Anastasia?
Anastasia is indeed a very special film to me. I played Anna Korev, who may or may not be the lost Russian princess Anastasia. This role was a powerful comeback for me, and I am deeply proud of it.
This film earned you your second Academy Award, right? How did that feel after everything you had been through in your career?
It was incredibly validating. After a few difficult years professionally and personally, this role marked a new chapter. Winning the Oscar again felt like a recognition of my resilience and commitment to my craft.
What about the character Anna Karev spoke to you personally?
Anna is a woman searching for identity and belonging. There's a vulnerability in her, but also a strength born of survival. That duality really resonated with me.
The film blends mystery, drama, and romance. How did you approach portraying those elements?
I wanted to show Anna's journey from confusion and doubt to self-discovery and hope. The romance added emotional warmth, but the mystery kept the audience guessing. Was she truly Anastasia or not?
How was it working with director Anatol Litvak?
Anatol was a meticulous and sensitive director. He understood the nuances of the story and helped me navigate Anna's complex emotional landscape.
What was the dynamic like with your co-stars in this film?
The chemistry on set was wonderful. Everyone was invested in bringing authenticity to this tale of lost royalty and second chances.
Were there any scenes in particular that you found especially challenging or memorable?
The moments where Anna confronts her past and tries to reconcile her identity were deeply emotional. I had to balance hope with uncertainty. Those were some of the most intense scenes to perform.
Anastasia also has a historical and political backdrop. Did that impact your performance?
Yes, the tragedy of the Russian Revolution and its aftermath added a somber weight. It grounded the personal story in a larger historical reality.
How did audiences react to the film and your portrayal at the time?
The reception was overwhelmingly positive. Many people connected with Anna's search for true truth and self-acceptance.
Did this role influence the kinds of characters you wanted to pursue afterward?
It reinforced my desire to play women with depth and complexity, those who face inner and outer challenges and emerge transformed.
Winning your second Oscar here must have been a career highlight. How did it change things for you?
It opened new doors and gave me confidence to continue taking on diverse roles. It was a milestone I cherish.
What do you hope new viewers take away from Anastasia today?
I hope they see it as a timeless story of hope, identity, and the courage to face one's past.
Would you say this film was a personal triumph for you?
Absolutely. It marked a renewal, not just in my career, but in my spirit as an artist.
Is there anything else you'd like to share about your experience making Anastasia?
Just that it was a deeply rewarding project, one that pushed me emotionally and creatively. I'm grateful to have been part of it.
Ingrid, coming to your fifth favorite film, Autumn Sonata. Could you share what this film means to you?
Autumn Sonata is deeply personal and one of the most intense experiences of my career. Returning to Swedish cinema after many years was like coming home, especially under direction of Ingmar Bergman.
Ingmar Bergman is considered one of the greatest directors in cinema history. How was it working with him on such an emotionally charged film?
Working with Ingmar was both challenging and inspiring. He demands absolute honesty and rawness from his actors. This film delves into the complexities of a mother-daughter relationship, and Ingmar helped me explore the darker, unspoken emotions with great sensitivity.
Your role as Charlotte Andergast is very different from your Hollywood roles. How did you prepare for this character?
Charlotte is a pianist and a mother who struggles with guilt, regret, and emotional distance. To prepare, I focused on understanding the pain beneath her facade. It required a lot of introspection and emotional courage to portray her authentically.
The mother-daughter relationship is central to the film. How did you approach this dynamic?
It was essential to find the truth in their troubled relationship. The tension, the misunderstandings, the love, and the disappointments all had to feel real. I worked closely with Liv Ullmann, who played my daughter, and our chemistry was crucial.
This film is often praised for its emotional depth and intensity. Was it difficult to maintain such intensity during filming?
Yes, emotionally it was exhausting, but also cathartic. The scenes required us to be very vulnerable, and Ingmar created a space where we could safely explore those emotions.
How was the reception of Autumn Sonata when it was released?
It was well received, especially in Europe, and many appreciated its honest portrayal of family struggles. For me, it was a rewarding return to more intimate, character-driven storytelling.
Did this film influence the way you viewed your own life and relationships?
Definitely. Playing Charlotte made me reflect deeply on human frailty and the complexities of family bonds. It reminded me how important forgiveness and understanding are.
What do you think makes Autumn Sonata stand out in your filmography?
Its emotional honesty and the collaboration with Ingmar. This film allowed me to explore a side of myself and of acting that Hollywood roles often didn't.
How did it feel to be back in Swedish cinema after so many years abroad?
It felt like reconnecting with my roots. There was a different pace, a different kind of storytelling, more introspective, more nuanced.
The film is very dialogue heavy and intense. Did you find that a challenge?
It was a challenge, but a welcome one. The language and the conversations carried so much weight. Every word mattered.
Would you say Autumn Sonata changed how audiences saw you as an actress?
Perhaps. It showed a more raw, vulnerable side of me. Beyond the glamour of Hollywood, it was a more mature and nuanced performance.
Are there any particular scenes in the film that stand out to you?
The final confrontation between Charlotte and her daughter unforgettable. It's a heartbreaking moment filled with pain and hope.
What did you learn from working with Ingrid Bergman that you took with you into other projects?
The importance of truth in performance. Ingmar taught me to be fearless in exploring the depths of a character's soul.
Do you have any personal favorite memories from the set of Autumn Sonata?
The quiet moments between takes where Ingmar would share his vision and encourage us to dig deeper. Those conversations were inspiring.
Looking back, how would you describe Autumn Sonata in just a few words?
Raw, powerful, transformative.
Ingrid, coming in at fourth place on your list is Spellbound. Can you tell us about your experience working on this Alfred Hitchcock classic?
Spellbound holds a special place in my heart. Working with Hitchcock was an intense and exhilarating experience. He's a master of suspense, and this film pushed the boundaries of psychological thrillers at the time.
Your role as Dr. Constance Peterson was quite groundbreaking, portraying a strong, intelligent female psychoanalyst. How did you approach this character?
I loved playing Constance because she was more than just a love interest. She was a professional with depth, insight, and compassion. I researched psychoanalysis and the emerging field of psychology to portray her authentically.
How was the dynamic between you and Gregory Peck, who played the mysterious patient?
Gregory was wonderful to work with, charmful and very dedicated. Our on-screen chemistry was essential to the film, given the emotional and psychological connection between our characters.
The film explores themes of memory, identity, and trauma. How did that influence your performance?
Those themes made the role deeply challenging. Constance has to trust and help a man who doesn't remember his past, and that vulnerability, combined with her professional strength, was fascinating to portray.
Hitchcock is known for his meticulous direction. Can you share some insights on how he guided you during filming?
He was incredibly precise and detail-oriented. He wanted every gesture to convey subtle tension. He often explained the psychology behind scenes, which helped me understand Constance's motivations deeply.
There's a famous dream sequence designed by Salvador Dali in the film. What was it like filming that?
That sequence was surreal and groundbreaking. It was unlike anything I'd seen before, so symbolic and abstract. Hitchcock wanted it to visually represent the unconscious mind, and being part of that was thrilling.
Did you find it difficult to balance the thriller elements with the emotional depth of your character?
It was a delicate balance. Constance had to be empathetic yet composed, fearful yet determined. I had to keep the suspense alive while staying true to her humanity.
What was the atmosphere on set like with Hitchcock and the cast?
It was intense but collaborative. Hitchcock created an environment where creativity flourished, but he also demanded the highest level of professionalism.
Spellbound was quite a success. How did the reception affect you?
It was gratifying. The film was praised for its originality and suspense, and I was proud that audiences connected with Constance's strength and sensitivity.
Did this film change how you viewed your career or the roles you wanted to pursue?
Definitely, it reinforced my desire to play complex, strong women and to work in films that challenged audiences intellectually and emotionally.
How did working on Spellbound influence your collaboration with Hitchcock in later films?
It built a strong foundation of trust. Hitchcock knew I could handle complex roles, and I knew he would push me to new heights creatively.
Are there any scenes in Spellbound that stand out to you as particularly memorable or challenging?
The scene where Constance confronts Gregory's character about his lost memories was emotionally taxing but pivotal. Conveying her mixture of hope and fear required real vulnerability.
What did you learn from playing a character deeply involved in psychoanalysis and mental health, especially in the 1940s?
It was eye-opening. Mental health was stigmatized, but Constance's character treated it with respect and compassion, which was progressive for the time.
Were you familiar with psychoanalysis before taking on this role?
Not extensively. I spent time learning about Freudian theory and the basics of psychoanalysis to bring credibility and nuance to the role.
How did audiences respond to your portrayal of a professional woman in a male-dominated field?
I received many letters from women who appreciated seeing a female character portrayed with intelligence, authority, which was encouraging.
Did working on Spellbound impact your personal views on psychology and human behavior?
Absolutely. It made me more aware of the complexities of the human mind and the importance of empathy and understanding.
Looking back, how would you sum up your experience with Spellbound in a few words?
Challenging, enlightening, and deeply rewarding.
Ingrid, third place on your list is The Unforgettable Gaslight. This film really showcased your incredible talent. Can you tell us what drew you to the role of Paula Alquist?
Gaslight was a compelling story about psychological manipulation and fear. Paula's character was complex, fragile yet resilient. I was drawn to the challenge of portraying a woman slowly unraveling under intense emotional pressure.
Your performance in Gaslight earned you your first Academy Award. How did that recognition feel at the time?
It was overwhelming and deeply gratifying. I had poured so much of myself into Paula's character, and to have that work recognized by my peers meant the world to me.
The film deals with themes of gaslighting, manipulation, and control. How did you prepare to express such subtle psychological torment on screen?
It required an internalization of fear and confusion. I studied the behavior of people experiencing emotional abuse, trying to capture that slow erosion of trust and self-confidence.
What was it like working with Charles Boyer, who played the manipulative husband?
Charles was a brilliant actor and brought a chilling intensity to the role. Our scenes together were emotionally charged, and his ability to play such a sinister character made the psychological tension palpable.
The setting of Gaslight feels claustrophobic and tense. How did the atmosphere on set help you get into character?
The set was designed to reflect Paula's confinement and isolation. It helped me embody her feelings of entrapment and vulnerability, which were crucial to the story.
Paula's transformation throughout the film is quite powerful. How did you approach showing that journey?
I focused on the gradual loss of her certainty and then her fight to reclaim her identity. It was important to balance vulnerability with growing strength.
The film was directed by George Cukor, known for his skill with actors. What was his directing style like during Gaslight?
George was patient and nurturing. He encouraged me to explore Paula's emotions deeply and gave space for subtle performances that conveyed a lot without words.
Did you find the psychological thriller genre more demanding than other genres you worked in?
Yes, because much of the tension is internal. Conveying invisible struggles through facial expressions and body language requires great focus and nuance.
Gaslight was made during the 1940s, a time when mental health wasn't widely discussed. Did the film help change perceptions in any way?
I believe it did open conversations about emotional abuse and manipulation, even if subtly. It portrayed psychological torment as real and serious, which was quite progressive then.
What scene in Gaslight stands out to you as particularly challenging or memorable?
The scene where Paula questions her own sanity was emotionally intense. It required portraying fear, doubt, and desperation all at once. Quite demanding but rewarding.
How did audiences respond to your portrayal of Paula at the time?
Many found it relatable and moving. I received letters from women who saw their own experiences reflected, which was touching and humbling.
What was the most important lesson you learned from playing Paula?
That resilience can emerge even from deep psychological pain, and portraying that truth was very important to me.
Working on Gaslight, did you develop a new appreciation for psychological storytelling in film?
Absolutely, it showed me the power of cinema to explore the human mind and emotions in profound ways.
How did this role influence your subsequent choices in film and character?
It encouraged me to seek out complex, multi-dimensional women, characters with real depth and emotional truth.
Were there any moments off camera during Gaslight that stand out as special memories?
The camaraderie with the cast was wonderful, especially with Charles and George. We shared a commitment to making the story authentic.
Gaslight has remained a classic thriller. Why do you think it still resonates with audiences today?
Because the themes of control and manipulation are timeless, the story taps into universal fears, but also the hope of overcoming them.
If you could say one thing about Gaslight to new viewers, what would it be?
Watch closely. Sometimes what's most frightening isn't visible, but felt in the silence between words.
Ingrid coming in at number 2 on your list is Notorious. This film is a classic Hitchcock thriller. Can you tell us what made Alicia Huberman such a compelling character for you?
Alicia was a fascinating woman, torn between loyalty, love, and a dangerous mission. She was complex, vulnerable, yet incredibly strong, which made the role deeply rewarding.
Working with Alfred Hitchcock must have been an experience in itself. What was his directing style like on Notorious?
Hitchcock was meticulous and visionary. He focused on creating tension in every frame, guiding us to deliver performances filled with subtle emotions and suspense.
Your chemistry with Cary Grant in the film is often praised. How did you two work together to build such a believable connection?
Cary was a consummate professional. We trusted each other, which allowed our characters' relationship, filled with passion and doubt, to feel very real on screen.
Alicia's role involves espionage and emotional conflict. How do you prepare to balance those two aspects?
I immersed myself in Alicia's emotional journey, her fear, love, and determination. Balancing the spy elements with her vulnerability was key to portraying her authentically.
Notorious is known for its suspenseful scenes. Do any stand out as particularly challenging or memorable to film?
The famous key scene where Cary's character searches Alicia's apartment was tense to shoot. Hitchcock's precision made every moment crackle with suspense.
The film explores themes of trust and betrayal. How did you convey Alicia's inner turmoil through your performance?
Through subtle gestures and expressions, hesitation, longing, fear, Alicia's turmoil was often unspoken, so conveying it required careful nuance.
Did Hitchcock encourage improvisation, or was everything carefully scripted?
Hitchcock was very precise. He planned every shot, but he trusted us to bring depth to the characters within that framework.
What was your favorite scene to shoot in Notorious?
The final scene between Alicia and Devlin, so charged with emotion, it was a powerful moment of vulnerability and reconciliation.
How did playing Alicia Huberman compare to other roles you'd done before?
Alicia was more conflicted and darker than many of my previous characters. It pushed me to explore new emotional depths.
The film was released just after World War II. Did the post-war context influence how audiences received the story?
Definitely. Themes of espionage and mistrust resonated strongly, and Alicia's bravery reflected the resilience people admired after the war.
You brought so much emotional depth to Alicia. What personal experiences, if any, did you draw upon?
I drew on feelings of uncertainty and hope from my own life, times when I faced difficult decisions but kept faith in what mattered most.
Working with Cary Grant again, did you find that your dynamic evolved from previous collaborations?
We grew more comfortable and trusting, which enriched our performances. That comfort translated into Alicia and Devlin's complex relationship.
Notorious has some iconic cinematic moments. Were there any technical innovations or directorial tricks Hitchcock used that impressed you?
Hitchcock's use of long takes and camera movement, especially in the party scenes, was revolutionary. It heightened the tension beautifully.
What did you learn from Hitchcock on this film that influenced your later work?
The power of understatement and building suspense through small details. Hitchcock taught me that less can be more in emotional storytelling.
How did audiences react to Notorious when it first came out?
They were captivated by the suspense and the emotional complexity. It remains one of my most beloved films.
Is there a message from Alicia's story that you hope viewers take away today?
That love and courage can coexist even in the darkest, most dangerous situations. Hope persists despite fear.
If you could revisit the character of Alicia now, what would you want to explore further?
I'd love to explore more of Alicia's internal conflicts and how she reconciles her personal desires with her duty.
Ingrid, we've heard about so many of your incredible films today. But now the moment we've all been waiting for. What is the number one film closest to your heart?
That's the big question. Without a doubt, it's Casablanca.
Casablanca, the classic everyone adores. Why does this film hold the top spot for you?
It was a magical experience. The story, the characters, the setting, it all came together perfectly. Playing Elsa Lund was transformative.
Ilsa Lund is such an unforgettable character. What about her made you connect so deeply?
Ilse is caught between love and sacrifice. That bittersweet conflict gave me so much to explore emotionally.
Working opposite Humphrey Bogart, what was that dynamic like on set?
Humphrey was a true professional and a great partner. Our chemistry sparked naturally, which brought Ilse and Rick's complicated relationship to life.
Casablanca is packed with memorable lines and moments. Do you have a favorite scene?
The airport farewell scene is heart-wrenching but filled with hope. A perfect blend of emotion and storytelling.
That scene still moves audiences decades later. How did you prepare for such an emotional moment?
I focused on the weight of sacrifice and unspoken love. It's a moment of quiet strength which required deep emotional honesty.
The film is set during World War II, giving it a powerful backdrop. How did the historical context influence your portrayal?
The war added urgency and realism. Ulsa's choices weren't just personal, they echoed the struggles so many faced during those times.
Do you remember any challenges during filming?
The shooting schedule was tight, and the emotional intensity of some scenes was draining. But the cast and crew's camaraderie kept us going.
The music in Casablanca is iconic too. Did the songs help you get into character?
Absolutely. As time goes by, it became almost a character itself, evoking nostalgia and love that mirrored Elsa's feelings.
How was the initial reception when the film was released?
It was immediately embraced, but the true legacy grew over time. It's become a timeless story of love and courage.
Did playing Elsa change how you viewed your own career?
Yes, it broadened my horizons and showed me the power of subtlety and emotional depth on screen.
Humphrey Bogart and you created an unforgettable on-screen partnership. Did you keep in touch after filming?
We did for a time. Our connection went beyond the set, rooted in mutual respect and friendship.
The screenplay of Casablanca is legendary. Were you involved in any improvisations?
Hitchcock wasn't directing, but the director Michael Curtiz allowed small improvisations. Those moments helped deepen our performances.
If you could sum up Casablanca in one phrase, what would it be?
A timeless story of love, sacrifice, and hope in the face of darkness.
Looking back, what does Casablanca mean to you personally?
It's a reminder of the power of such storytelling to touch across generations. I'm forever grateful to be part of it.
Would you ever want to revisit Ilsa's story if given the chance?
I think Elsa's story is perfect as it is. Sometimes leaving things to the imagination is what keeps magic alive.
Ingrid, now that you've shared your very best films that are closest to your heart, I'm curious, could you tell us about some of your favorite films, other than those you starred in, that you personally enjoy or admire?
Oh, yes, absolutely. There are many films I cherish for different reasons. I'd be delighted to share those with you.
What's the film on 10 place on your list?
Oh, definitely It's a Wonderful Life. It holds a very special place in my heart.
That's such a beloved classic. What about it speaks to you?
It's the simplicity, the depth of human emotion. James Stewart's performance was absolutely timeless.
George Bailey is one of the most enduring characters ever written.
Exactly. You really feel for him. His struggles, his selflessness, it resonates so deeply.
Did you see it when it was first released?
I did. And funnily enough, it wasn't as popular then as it is now. But I remember being moved right from the first viewing.
What did you think of Frank Capra's direction?
Capra had this magic touch. He could turn the ordinary into something extraordinary. The way he told George's story, it was pure poetry.
The scene on the bridge still gives me chills.
Me too. That desperation, and then Clarence showing him what life would be like without him. It's storytelling at its finest.
Do you think that message, "No man is a failure who has friends," still holds weight today?
More than ever, in our fast-paced world, that kind of reminder is so important.
And James Stewart, what a performance.
Heartbreaking and hopeful at the same time. He had such sincerity.
Have you ever imagined working with Capra or Stewart?
Oh, many times. I think we would have created something very heartfelt together.
That would have been an Oscar-worthy pairing.
Well, thank you, but It's a Wonderful Life is perfect as it is.
It's amazing how a film can grow in impact over the decades.
Yes, sometimes the world needs time to understand a masterpiece.
Beautifully said, Ingrid. Shall we move on to the movie in 9th place on your list?
Of course, at number 9, I have Sunset Boulevard, a hauntingly brilliant film from 1950.
The classic, but that's not one of your films, right?
No, I wasn't in that film. It starred Gloria Swanson and was directed by Billy Wilder. But it left a deep impression on me.
What stood out the most to you about Sunset Boulevard?
Its honesty, the way it explored the dark side of fame, aging, and the obsession with stardom. It was raw and brave.
Did you personally relate to Norma Desmond's character?
In some ways, yes, every actress fears fading into obscurity. Gloria captured that fear with such power and fragility.
That performance is still studied today. What did you think of Billy Wilder's direction?
Wilder had a way of letting silence speak louder than words. The mood, the shadows, the loneliness, it all came together so perfectly.
Do you think Sunset Boulevard was ahead of its time?
Absolutely. Hollywood wasn't used to turning the mirror on itself like that. It was daring and almost uncomfortable to watch, and that's what made it brilliant.
Would you have liked to be part of such a film?
Oh, yes. Any actor would, though I don't know if I could match Gloria's intensity. She was luminous in her own unique way.
What impact did that movie have on you personally?
It reminded me to stay grounded. Stardom is fleeting, but artistry and truth last forever.
That's so profound, Ingrid. Do you recall when you first saw the film?
Yes, it was during a private screening at a friend's home. The room was silent for minutes after ended.
A true testament to its power. Do you think its message still holds up today?
More than ever. The industry may have changed, but the illusions and pressures remain. It's still very real.
Thank you for that powerful insight. Sunset Boulevard clearly left a lasting mark on you.
It did. It's not just a film, it's a reflection of the hidden heart of Hollywood.
We've made it to number 8 on your list, Ingrid. What film holds that spot?
That would be Double Indemnity from 1944, a true cornerstone of film noir.
Ah yes, Billy Wilder's masterpiece. What drew you to that particular film?
Everything, from the writing to the mood to the performances. Barbara Stanwyck was riveting. She made Cold Calculation look elegant.
It's fascinating how she played such a morally complex character. What did you think of her portrayal?
She didn't just play Phyllis Dietrichson, she became a... Every glance, every pause had meaning. She was chilling and mesmerizing.
And the script, so sharp, so biting. Did the dialogue impress you?
Tremendously. Wilder and Raymond Chandler wrote with such precision. Every line dripped with tension or innuendo.
How about Fred McMurray? A surprising role for someone known for lighter characters.
Yes, it was a bold move for him, but he pulled it off. His descent into guilt and entrapment was palpable.
Would you say this film influenced the noir genre?
Without a doubt, it set the tone. The lighting, the femme fatale, the doomed anti-hero. It defined noir for decades.
And the narration, that first-person confessional style.
A brilliant choice. It made you feel like you were sinking into the story with him, trapped, just like Walter Neff.
Do you think it had a psychological impact on audiences at the time?
Yes, it made people question trust, love, and how far someone would go for desire. It was unnerving and thrilling.
You've often played morally complex characters. Did you see echoes of yourself in Barbara's role?
We both took risks in our choices, but her fearless was far darker. I admired her fearlessness in embracing that.
Would you have liked to work with Billy Wilder?
Very much so. He had a razor-sharp intellect, but he also understood human vulnerability. That's rare.
What do you think made Double Indemnity stand out among other films of the time?
It didn't sugarcoat human weakness. It showed the cost of deception, greed, and forbidden love, without judgment, just truth.
Do you remember your first viewing of it?
I watched it in New York, shortly after its release. I left the cinema shaken in the best way possible.
That ending doomed characters, justice with a bitter taste. Did it resonate?
Completely. There were no heroes, only choices and consequences. That's what made it so unforgettable.
Would you consider Double Indemnity a perfect film?
Near perfect. Every element was aligned. The cast, the mood, the direction. It was lightning in a bottle.
Thank you, Ingrid. You always bring such depth to your reflections. What a compelling take on such a gripping film.
Thank you. Double Indemnity deserves every bit of praise it continues to receive.
We're getting close to the top of your list, Ingrid. Number 7. What film holds that spot?
The Big Sleep from 1946, a masterpiece of mood and mystery, directed by Howard Hawks, starring Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall.
A noir classic. What makes it so special for you?
It's the atmosphere. The film doesn't just tell a story, it draws you into its smoky, cynical world. It's like stepping into a dream where danger is seductive.
You weren't in the film, of course, but did you know the cast?
Yes, I knew Bogart and Bacall socially. Bogart was Marlowe, gritty, sharp, and yet somehow noble. And Lauren, what a force. She held her own every scene with poise and intelligence.
Their chemistry was legendary.
Undeniable. It wasn't just romance, it was wit meeting wit, sparks flying through dialogue alone.
Many people say the plot is confusing. Does that take away from it?
Not at all. In fact, that's part of its charm. You're not watching the big sleep to solve a puzzle, you're watching to feel something. Suspense, seduction, uncertainty.
Any particular scene that stands out for you?
Oh, yes, the bookstore scene. So subtle yet sizzling with unspoken tension. That's how seduction should be on film. Suggestive, not explicit.
And what about the direction?
Howard Hawks had a way of letting silence speak. He trusted his actors and his audience. Nothing felt forced.
The dialogue is often quoted. Was that Chandler's brilliance?
Absolutely, Raymond Chandler had a way of making cynicism poetic. His words were like jazz, unexpected, rhythmic, full of edge.
The supporting cast added richness too, didn't they?
Yes, every character had texture. Quirky, shady, memorable. It was like a gallery of noir portraits.
You mentioned atmosphere earlier. Can you elaborate?
It's that sense of never quite knowing what's real. Shadows reign, half-truths. It's noir at its finest. You're always off balance, and that's thrilling.
You admire Bogart's performance deeply?
I do. He made cynicism feel noble. He didn't play the hero. He was the reluctant hero, worn down but unshackable in his principles.
Recall.
Smart, sultry, grounded. She never overplayed anything. She had presence without trying too hard. That's rare.
Would you say this film influenced later detective stories?
Undoubtedly. It became the Templar, but moral detective. Dangerous women, layered dialogue. It influenced film and television for decades.
So for you, The Big Sleep is more than movie.
It's a mood, a moment in cinema that felt alive. A film where every glance, every line matters. I never tire of it.
Beautifully said, Ingrid. A timeless Nora at number 7.
Thank you. It deserves its place. It reminds us how powerful suggestion and silence can be in storytelling.
We've reached number 6 on your list, Ingrid. What film is next?
It's the Philadelphia Story from 1940, a sparkling comedy of manners that never loses its charm.
Ah, the classic with Katharine Hepburn, Cary Grant and James Stewart.
Yes, what a trio. They were like lightning in a bottle, each brilliant in their own way and together completely magnetic.
What draws you to this film so deeply?
It's the sharpness of the writing, the elegance of the performances. It's a story about class, pride, love, and vulnerability, but done with such grace and wit.
And of course, Katharine Hepburn.
She was marvelous. Her role as Tracy Lord was complex, proud, wounded, clever. It's not easy to play a woman who must unlearn her own pride. Kate did it masterfully.
Do you remember when you first saw the film?
I do. I saw it shortly after arriving in America. It struck me how effortless it all seemed, how natural the dialogue flowed. It was like watching people dance with words.
James Stewart won his Oscar for this role.
He deserved it. His blend of awkwardness and honesty was so endearing. The drunk scene with Cary Grant, utterly delightful.
The film is often called a screwball comedy, yet it has a depth, doesn't it?
Yes, it's more than laughs. It holds a mirror to human flaws. Pride, judgment, the difficulty of truly knowing one another. And yet it never feels heavy.
Well, what did you think of Cary Grant in the film?
Cary had such poise, such timing. He could say the most cutting line and still make you love him. He played Dexter with tenderness beneath his wit.
The film was adapted from a play. Could you sense its theatrical roots?
Absolutely. The structure is tight, the dialogue precise. It's chamber drama disguised as romantic comedy.
Do you think it influenced other romantic films?
Without a doubt, it showed that romance could be intelligent, that humor and heartbreak could share the same scene. It raised the bar.
Would you have liked to act in a film like this?
Oh, yes. I would have loved to play a role like Tracy Lord Laird, proud, clever, vulnerable. Those roles are gifts to actors.
Do you think the Philadelphia Story still holds up today?
Completely. It's timeless because it's about people, about ego and empathy, forgiveness and self-awareness, and because it's so well crafted.
It's often cited for its perfect casting. Would you agree?
Yes, you can't imagine anyone else in those roles. That's rare. Each actor brought their essence to the screen, and it just clicked.
Do you think Hollywood still makes films like this?
Not often. There's a fineness in old Hollywood dialogue that we don't see much today. But I believe good writing will always find its way back.
What's the one word you'd use to describe the Philadelphia Story?
Effervescent, it bubbles with charm, wit, and wisdom.
A lovely word, and a lovely pick for number 6.
Thank you. It's a film that dances through your mind long after the credits roll.
We're down to number 5 on your list. Ingrid, what classic holds this spot?
It's Rebecca from 1940, a haunting, elegant mystery that still sends chills down my spine.
Ah yes, Hitchcock's first Hollywood film. What made you choose this one?
It's one of those films that feels like stepping into a dream, or perhaps a nightmare. Every shadow, every silence is filled with tension.
And it wasn't just a thriller, it had deep emotional undercurrents.
Exactly. It's not just about mystery, it's about insecurity, identity, and memory. Joan Fontaine captured that so beautifully. Her fear, her doubt, her transformation.
She played the second Mrs. De Winter so delicately.
Delicate, yes, but never weak. Her quiet strength builds across the film. You see a timid young woman slowly realize she must confront more than just a ghost.
And Laurence Olivier as Maxim De Winter.
So enigmatic. All of you had this brooding presence, tormented, withdrawn. You were never sure whether to trust him, and that made him perfect for the role.
Let's not forget Mrs. Danvers.
Judith Anderson. Cold, controlling, haunting. She was magnificent. The scene where she tries to coax Joan's character into the window, it's pure psychological horror.
What did you admire about Hitchcock's direction?
His subtlety. He didn't need to show ghosts or violence. He used silence, looks, pacing. He made the audience feel uneasy without realizing why.
This was Hitchcock's first American film. Do you think it set the tone for his career?
Absolutely. Rebecca combined British restraint with American scale. It proved Hitchcock could do both character and suspense, and win an Oscar while doing it.
Did you ever wish to be a part of a film like Rebecca?
Very much. I admired how the story focused on a woman's inner world, her insecurities, her growth. Roles like that are gold for an actress.
And the cinematography?
Moody and masterful Manderley, the mansion felt like a character of its own, gothic, oppressive, full of secrets.
It's based on Daphne du Maurier's novel. Have you read it?
Yes, many years ago. The novel is vivid, and his team translated it so well. They preserved the mood while adapting the story to the screen.
Do you think the film resonates with modern audiences?
Certainly. Insecurity, comparison to someone's past, fear of not being enough. These are timeless feelings. That's why Rebecca endures.
Some call it a ghost story without a ghost.
That's what makes it brilliant. Rebecca's presence haunts everything, though she never appears. It's the idea of her that's terrifying.
The theme of identity is strong too.
Yes, the second Mrs. De Winter has no name. She's almost invisible in her own life until she claims her voice. That arc is powerful.
Would you say this film helped elevate psychological storytelling in cinema?
Without a doubt, Rebecca showed that fear could come from within, not just from monsters or violence. That was groundbreaking.
One final question. If you could describe Rebecca in one word, what would it be?
Haunting. It lingers, like a memory you can't quite forget.
A haunting choice indeed. Thank you, Ingrid.
Thank you. It's a film that reminds us that shadows often come from within.
Ingrid, now we come to your fourth favorite film, and a true Hollywood classic, Casablanca, in 1942. Of course, you starred in this unforgettable film. What does Casablanca mean to you personally?
Casablanca is very close to my heart. It was a film that changed everything for me, both professionally and personally. The two actors, the character atmosphere, it all felt magical, almost surreal.
The film has become an icon of the golden age of Hollywood. What do you think made it so timeless?
It's the blend of romance, sacrifice, and moral complexity. Everyone remembers the love story between Rick and Elsa, but underneath is a story about courage and doing what's right, even when it's painful.
You played Ilsa Lund, a woman torn between love and duty. How did you approach this role?
I tried to bring a sense of vulnerability, but also strength to Elsa. She is caught in a difficult position between her love for Rick and her loyalty to her husband and the greater cause. I wanted the audience to feel her inner conflict and her humanity.
What was it like working opposite Humphrey Bogart?
Humphrey was extraordinary. He brought a natural charm and depth to Rick that was both tough and tender. Our chemistry was electric, though off-screen we were quite different. His professionalism inspired me.
Any memorable moments on set?
Many, but I remember the famous "Here's looking at you, kid" line. It was simple yet full of emotion, and director Michael Curtiz had a way of capturing those small moments that stay with you forever.
The film was made during World War II. Did that influence the way you played your role?
Absolutely. The war added a layer of urgency and realism. Many people were living with uncertainty, loss, and hope. It wasn't just entertainment, it was a reflection of real struggles, which made every scene more meaningful.
Casablanca is known for its memorable dialogue and iconic scenes. Do you have a favorite?
The scene where Rick sacrifices his love for Ulsa so she can escape with her husband always moves me. It's the ultimate act of love and selflessness. Also, the final airport scene, poignant and bittersweet.
The film was based on an unproduced play, Everybody Comes to Rick's. How familiar were you with the original story?
I read the script early on, and it felt different from typical romances. There was a darkness and complexity to it which intrigued me. The screenplay went through many revisions, but the core emotion stayed true.
Do you think the film's success was immediate?
It took some time, but yes, it quickly became beloved. Maybe because it combined romance with a larger message of hope and resistance, which resonated deeply during those uncertain times.
How did Casablanca influence your career afterward?
It opened many doors, but more importantly, it gave me confidence as an actress. It showed that I could handle complex roles that required subtlety and depth.
What about the supporting cast? Any favorites?
Everyone was brilliant. Claude Rains as Captain Renault added charm and humor. Paul Henry as Victor Laszlo brought dignity and passion. The entire cast created a rich world.
The film's music, especially as time goes by, is iconic. How did music contribute to the film's mood?
Music was almost like another character. As time goes by, it captures nostalgia and lost love. It's haunting and beautiful, anchoring the emotional heart of the story.
The black and white cinematography is striking. How important was that visual style?
It gave the film a timeless classic feel. The shadows and light played perfectly into the themes of mystery, love, and danger.
Many have described Casablanca as the perfect blend of romance and politics. Would you agree?
Yes, it never felt preachy. It balanced personal stories with the larger stakes of the war, making it both intimate and epic.
Looking back, what do you think is the lasting legacy of Casablanca?
That love often requires sacrifice, that courage isn't always loud, and that hope can exist even in the darkest times.
If you could tell modern audiences one thing about Casablanca, what would it be?
To watch it with an open heart and remember that the choices we make define us, sometimes more than our feelings do.
Thank you, Ingrid. Your reflections remind us why Casablanca remains such a beloved classic.
Thank you. It's a story that lives on because it's about us, all of us.
Ingrid, coming to your third favorite film, The Maltese Falcon 1941. This is a classic in the film noir genre and features Humphrey Bogart in one of his signature roles. What drew you to this film?
The Maltese Falcon is a masterpiece of mystery and intrigue. I've always admired how it builds tension and suspense with such skill. The story is layered with deception, greed, and desperation, elements that make it thrilling and complex.
You worked with Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca, but what do you think about his performance in The Maltese Falcon?
Humphrey was perfect as Sam Spade. He brought a tough, cynical edge, but also a sharp intelligence. It's a role that demands subtlety. He has to be tough, but also vulnerable enough to draw the audience in.
Did you have a chance to study the screenplay or the characters before your own roles during that time?
Yes, even though I wasn't in the film, I studied it closely. The screenplay is tight and smart, full of witty, sharp dialogue. It set a standard for noir films that followed. Every character is morally ambiguous, which was very modern for that era.
What stands out most to you about the film's style and direction?
John Huston's direction is incredible. The use of shadows and light creates a claustrophobic, tense atmosphere. It's like you're trapped in a web of lies and danger with the characters.
Film noir often portrays a dark, gritty world. How do you think The Maltese Falcon influenced this genre?
It really defined the genre. The cynical detective, the femme fatale, the shadowy urban setting, they all come together perfectly. The film's moral ambiguity and complex characters challenge traditional Hollywood storytelling.
Speaking of femme fatale, Bridget O'Shaughnessy is a fascinating character. What are your thoughts on her?
Bridget is a great example of the dangerous, mysterious woman who manipulates those around her. She's vulnerable but cunning, and her shifting loyalties add to the suspense. It's a role that requires nuance to avoid caricature.
Would you say that The Maltese Falcon feels relevant today?
Definitely, the themes of greed, trust, and betrayal are timeless. Plus, its style has influenced countless modems and television shows. It's a classic not just for nostalgia, but for its storytelling power.
How important do you think the supporting cast was to the film's success?
Extremely important. Sidney Greenstreet as Caspar Gutman brought gravitas and a bit of menace. Peter Lorre as Joel Cairo was memorably unsettling. Every role felt vital to the story's tension.
The plot revolves around the search for a valuable statuette. What do you think this object symbolizes?
The falcon represents greed and obsession. Everyone is willing to lie, cheat, or kill to possess it, which shows how desire can corrupt.
The screenplay is known for its sharp dialogue. Any lines that stand out for you?
Fasten your seat belts. It's going to be a bumpy night is unforgettable. It perfectly captures the film's mood. Danger mixed with dark humor.
Would you say the film was ahead of its time?
In many ways, yes. Its moral complexity and realistic characters were quite bold for the early 40s. It paved the way for darker, more mature stories.
If you could have played a role in The Maltese Falcon, which character would you have chosen?
Bridget O'Shaughnessy is tempting, such a layered, challenging role, but Sam Spade's sharp wit also fascinates me.
How does The Maltese Falcon compare to other films of its era in your view?
It stands apart because it doesn't shy away from showing flawed, complicated people. That's what gives it depth and lasting appeal.
The film's ending is famously ambiguous. How do you interpret it?
It's about justice, but not necessarily happy endings. Life is complicated, and sometimes doing the right thing means personal sacrifice.
Do you think the Maltese Falcon influenced your own acting choices or career?
Its complexity inspired me to seek roles with challenge, where characters aren't just good or bad, but fully human.
What would you tell viewers who have never seen the film?
Watch closely, listen to the dialogue, and enjoy the tension. It's a masterclass in storytelling that still captivates decades later.
Thank you, Ingrid. Your insights make me want to revisit this classic with new appreciation.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to discuss such a remarkable film.
Ingrid, you've chosen Citizen Kane in 1941 as your second favorite film. This is a landmark in cinema history. What makes it stand out to you?
Citizen Kane is revolutionary in every sense: storytelling, cinematography, and acting. Orson Welles crafted something so innovative that it changed the way films were made forever.
What about the story resonates most with you?
It's a powerful exploration of power, ambition, and loneliness. Charles Foster Kane is a complex character, a man who has everything yet remains profoundly unhappy.
Wells himself starred as Kane and directed the film. How do you view his dual role here?
Orson was a genius. Balancing during acting is no easy feat, but he brought a singular vision to the project. His portrayal of Kane is nuanced, both charismatic and tragic.
The film's narrative structure is non-linear and quite experimental for its time. What do you think about that approach?
I love it. The story unfolds through multiple perspectives like pieces of a puzzle. It keeps the audience engaged, constantly re-evaluating what they know about Kane.
Citizen Kane is famous for its cinematography, especially the use of deep focus. How important is that to the storytelling?
It's essential. The deep focus technique lets you see the entire scene sharply. Foreground, middle ground, background all at once. It adds layers to the narrative, making the viewer feel more immersed.
The film's themes are quite dark: power, corruption, lost innocence. How did this affect audiences when it first released?
It was bold and challenging. Many found it unsettling because it didn't offer easy answers. It showed that greatness can be deeply flawed.
The mysterious word rosebud is central to the film. What does it symbolize to you?
To me, Rosebud represents lost childhood and innocence, a reminder that beneath Kane's public persona lies a vulnerable, lonely boy longing for simpler times.
The supporting cast is remarkable. Any performances that you found particularly compelling?
Joseph Cotton as Jadid Erland is memorable. His friendship with Kane adds emotional depth. Also, Ags Moorhead's role brings tension and complexity.
How do you think Citizen Kane has influenced filmmakers over the decades?
It's inspired countless directors to push boundaries. The way it combines narrative innovation with technical mastery set a new standard for cinematic storytelling.
What about the music and sound design? How do they contribute?
The score is subtle yet powerful, enhancing the emotional impact without overpowering the scenes. The sound design supports the mood, making the world feel authentic.
Do you see any parallels between Kane's story and the lives of real historical figures?
Definitely. Kane is often seen as inspired by William Randolph Hearst, a man whose vast wealth and influence couldn't shield him from personal tragedy.
What would you say to someone watching Citizen Kane for the first time?
Watch with an open mind, appreciate how innovative it is and how deeply human the story remains despite its grandeur.
Has Citizen Kane influenced your own work as an actress?
Absolutely. It reminded me how powerful cinema can be when it tackles real human complexity, inspiring me to seek out roles with depth.
What do you think about the film's portrayal of the American dream?
It's a cautionary tale. Kane chases success and power but loses sight of what truly matters: connection and love.
Do you have a favorite scene or moment in the film?
The opening newsreel is genius. It sets up the entire story. Also, the final scene with the sled is haunting and poetic.
Citizen Kane wasn't a huge commercial success initially. Why do you think it gained such lasting acclaim?
Sometimes great art takes time to be fully appreciated. Its innovation and emotional depth have allowed it to endure and grow in reputation.
If you could collaborate with Orson Welles, what kind of project would you want to do?
I'd love to work on a character-driven drama with psychological depth, something that challenges audiences to think and feel deeply.
Thank you, Ingrid. Your insights illuminate why Citizen Kane remains such a vital piece of cinema history.
Thank you. It's been a joy to talk about such an extraordinary film.
Ingrid, you've saved your top favorite film for last, Gone with the Wind in 1939. That's truly a monumental classic. What draws you to this film above all others?
Oh, Gone with the Wind is a masterpiece on so many levels. The story, the characters, the epic scale, it's cinema that transports you. It captures the heart and soul of a turbulent time with such passion and depth.
Scarlett O'Hara is such an iconic character. fierce, flawed, and unforgettable. What do you admire most about her?
Scarlett's resilience is extraordinary. She's complex, sometimes selfish, sometimes vulnerable, but always fighting to survive. Her determination and spirit make her so human, so real.
Vivien Leigh's portrayal is legendary. What did you think of her performance?
Vivien brought Scarlett to life in a way that feels timeless. Her ability to express Scarlett's strength and fragility so convincingly is truly inspiring.
And Clark Gable as Rhett Butler. What's your take on their chemistry?
Their dynamic is electric. Rhett's charm and wit perfectly counterbalance Scarlett's fiery nature. Together, they create one of the most compelling on-screen relationships ever.
The film's backdrop. The American South during the Civil War and Reconstruction. How do you feel that setting contributes to the story?
It's almost like another character in the film. The war and its aftermath shape every decision, every emotion. It's a story about love, loss, and survival in the face of unimaginable change.
The film is famous for its lavish production, costumes, sets, music. How important is this grandeur to its success?
The grandeur is essential. It creates an immersive experience. The costumes, the sweeping landscapes, Max Steiner's unforgettable score, they all combine to make the story larger than life.
The narrative is long and complex. How does the film manage to keep audiences engaged throughout?
It's the strength of the characters and the emotional stakes. We care deeply about what happens to Scarlett and those around her. The film balances epic events with intimate moments perfectly.
What themes in Gone with the Wind resonate with you personally?
Themes of love, endurance, and transformation. It reminds us that even in the darkest times, people can find strength and hope.
Some critics have debated the film's portrayal of history and culture. What's your perspective?
It's important to view it in its historical context. While it romanticizes certain aspects, it also tells a powerful story of human resilience and complexity.
Is there a particular scene or moment that stands out as unforgettable to you?
The final scene, Rut's famous, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." It's heartbreaking and defiant all at once. It perfectly encapsulates the complicated relationship between Scarlett and Rhett.
How do you think Gone with the Wind has influenced filmmaking and storytelling?
It set a standard for epic storytelling, combining romance, drama, and history on a grand scale. Many films since have drawn inspiration from its ambition and scope.
If you could step into the film as a character, who would you want to be?
I'd love to experience Scarlett's fierce spirit, her ability to survive and fight for what she wants, no matter the cost.
The film's music by Max Steiner is iconic. How does it enhance the story?
The score is emotional and sweeping. It heightens every moment, whether tender or tragic, weaving a powerful emotional tapestry.
Did Gone with the Wind influence your own acting or choices in roles?
Absolutely. It showed me the power of strong, multi-dimensional female characters. It inspired me to seek roles that challenge and captivate.
What do you hope modern audiences take away from watching Gone with the Wind today?
I hope they appreciate its artistry and storytelling and also reflect on the complexities of history and human nature it portrays.
The film's length is over 3 hours. How does it maintain its momentum?
The story is so richly layered with drama, romance, and conflict that it holds your attention throughout. The characters are so compelling you want to stay with them every step of the way.
Finally, Ingrid, what would you say to someone watching Gone with the Wind for the first time?
Embrace the journey. It's an unforgettable cinematic experience filled with passion, heartbreak, and unforgettable characters. It's a true classic.
Thank you so much, Ingrid. Your reflections bring new life to this beloved film.
Thank you. It's been a joy to share my love for this timeless story.
Now that you've shared your top 10 favorite films, Ingrid, let's shift gears and talk about the great personalities who inspired you during Hollywood's golden age. Who would you put in the top 10 actors list? Let's start from number 10.
Oh, what a wonderful topic. For the 10th spot, I would choose James Cagney. He brought such energy and fire to every role he played. His passion and intensity made him unforgettable.
But James Cagney certainly had a commanding presence. What about his acting style drew you in?
It was his raw honesty and the electric intensity. He could portray both menace and charm with such ease. He was a man who fully embodied his characters.
Did you ever work with him or see him in action on set?
Sadly, we never worked together, but I admired his work greatly. Watching him was like watching a storm, full of power and unpredictability.
Were there any particular films of his that stood out to you?
Definitely The Public Enemy. It set the standard for gangster films. And then there's Yankee Doodle Dandy, where he showed his musical and comedic talents, proving his versatility.
That's quite a range from gangster roles to musicals. How did he manage to excel in such different genres?
Because he was so dedicated to his craft, he didn't just act, he lived the role. His dedication allowed him to explore many facets of performance, from drama to humor.
What do you think made him so magnetic to audiences?
There was an undeniable authenticity in his performances. He was never just playing a part, he was revealing parts of himself, raw and unfiltered.
How do you think he influenced other actors of his time?
He inspired them to bring that same intensity and commitment. Cagney showed that acting wasn't just about glamour, it was about truth and energy.
Was there a particular scene or performance that left a lasting impression on you?
Yes, the famous "You Dirty Rat" scene in The Public Enemy, the way he delivered that line with such menace and charisma was unforgettable.
Do you think modern actors could learn something from James Cagney's approach?
Absolutely, they could learn to give everything to their roles, to embrace both the light and dark aspects of their characters with full honesty.
What was his personality like off screen, if you know?
From what I heard, he was quite a charming and witty man, quite different from some of his on-screen tough guy roles.
That contrast sounds fascinating. How important do you think that duality is for an actor?
It's crucial. It shows their depth and complexity, which allows them to play a wider range of characters convincingly.
Were there any other films of his you admire?
White Heat is another masterpiece. His portrayal of Cody Jarrett is chilling yet captivating.
It sounds like Cagney's legacy is very powerful. How do you personally connect with his work?
I connect with his fearless approach. He wasn't afraid to show flaws or vulnerabilities, which I think is what makes acting so powerful.
Do you think his work influenced your own acting style in any way?
Yes, his intensity reminded me to always bring emotional truth to my characters, no matter the genre.
How would you summarize James Cagney's impact on Hollywood?
He was a trailblazer. He redefined what it meant to be leading man. His energy, passion, and range set new standards for all actors who followed.
Such a fitting tribute. So who takes the ninth spot on your list?
I'm eager to share, but first let's appreciate the sheer brilliance of Cagney's contribution to cinema.
After James Cagney, who do you place at number 9 on your list of top Golden Age actors?
Number 9 goes to Henry Fonda. Henry was a man of integrity, both on and off the screen. His performances carried a genuine honesty that I deeply admired.
Henry Fonda is known for his sincere and straightforward portrayals. What about him touched you the most?
It was his naturalness. Watching Henry act felt like watching a real person, not a character trying to impress. His sincerity was refreshing.
Did you ever have the chance to work with him?
Yes, we did work together, and it was an absolute pleasure. Henry's grounded approach made every scene feel real and effortless.
What qualities do you think made Henry Fonda stand out among his peers?
His humility and quiet strength. He never relied on flashy theatrics. Instead, he showed depth through subtle expressions and genuine emotions.
Can you share a memorable film or role of his that resonated with you?
The Grapes of Wrath was incredible. He brought so much dignity and pain to the role of Tom Joad. It was heartbreaking and inspiring.
What do you think his legacy means to Hollywood actors today?
He set a high standard for authenticity. Many actors today still look up to him for his truthful and unpretentious style.
How did Henry's off-screen personality influence his acting?
His strong moral compass and kindness shone through in his work. You could sense that the man behind the camera was as genuine as the characters he portrayed.
Did you find that Henry had a specific method or approach to preparing for his roles?
Henry focused deeply on understanding characters' heart and motivation. He didn't act. He lived the role quietly and sincerely.
What was it like acting opposite him?
Very calming and inspiring. Henry had a way of making his co-stars feel at ease, which created authentic chemistry on screen.
Were there roles you felt Henry could have explored more?
I would have loved to see him in more complex, darker roles, but even in his quieter performances, he always made a lasting impact.
How did Henry Fonda influence your own work?
His dedication to truthfulness encouraged me to always find the honest core of my characters, no matter how grand the story.
Do you think his legacy is sometimes understated compared to other stars?
Perhaps because he wasn't flashy, but his influence is deep and enduring, especially among serious actors and filmmakers.
Was there a particular scene or moment in his films that you found especially powerful?
The courtroom scene in 12 Angry Men, where his quiet conviction changes the tide, it was masterful in its simplicity and strength.
Henry Fonda is often seen as a symbol of American values in cinema. Do you agree?
Absolutely. He embodied integrity, justice, and values that resonated deeply with audiences, especially during challenging times.
What would you say to young actors today about Henry Fonda's career?
Focus on honesty and depth. Don't chase glamour or popularity. Instead, seek to understand and truthfully portray the human experience.
If you could summarize Henry Fonda in just a few words, what would they be?
Genuine, principled, and quietly powerful.
Moving on, Ingrid, who do you place at number 8 on your list of the greatest actors from the golden age of Hollywood?
Number 8 is Fred Astaire. Fred wasn't just a dancer, he was a storyteller through movement. His charm and grace brought a unique joy to the screen that captivated audiences everywhere.
Fred Astaire's name is almost synonymous with elegance and dance. What made his performances so special to you?
It was his ability to communicate emotions without words. His dance was poetry. Every step, every gesture told a story that words could never fully capture.
Did you have the opportunity to see him perform live or work with him?
I never had the chance to work with Fred, but I admired him greatly. Watching his films, you could feel his passion and dedication to perfecting every movement.
How would you describe his influence on the film industry?
Fred transformed dance from a simple entertainment segment into an integral part of storytelling in cinema. His artistry elevated musicals to new heights.
Was there a particular film or dance sequence that left a lasting impression on you?
Top Hat remains a classic. The chemistry he shared with Ginger Rogers was magical, and their dance routines were both graceful and playful.
What qualities did Fred bring to his roles beyond his dancing skills?
He brought warmth, humor, and an effortless charm. Fred's personality shone through his performances, making his characters feel approachable yet extraordinary.
In your opinion, what set Fred Astaire apart from other dancers of his time?
His precision combined with spontaneity. He was technically flawless, yet he danced with such natural ease that it never felt rehearsed.
How do you think Fred Astaire's style influenced later generations of performers?
Many artists today still look up to Fred as the gold standard of dance on film. His blend of sophistication and fun continues to inspire.
Do you believe his storytelling through dance can connect with audiences who don't understand the language of dance?
Absolutely. His movements spoke universally. Love, joy, sadness, excitement, they all transcend words.
What lessons can actors and performers learn from Fred Astaire?
To master their craft with discipline, but also to let their own personality shine through. Fred was a perfectionist who never lost his genuine warmth.
How do you think Fred Astaire's charm influenced the way dance scenes were incorporated in films?
He'd made dance scenes feel essential to the plot, not just a break in the story. That was revolutionary and changed how musicals were made.
Was there a moment in Fred's career that you think defined him as an artist?
His partnership with Ginger Rogers is iconic, but also his solo performances showed a sheer brilliance. Those moments revealed his soul.
How did Fred Astaire's grace affect the visual language of cinema at the time?
His fluid movements added a lyrical quality to films, turning dance sequences into visual poetry.
Did Fred Astaire influence your own acting or approach to your roles?
While I was not a dancer, his ability to express so much through such a physicality inspired me to pay close attention to how body language can tell a story.
What do you think modern audiences can learn from Fred Astaire's films?
That elegance and joy in art never go out of style. His work reminds us to appreciate beauty and dedication.
If you were to describe Fred Astaire in just a few words, what would they be? Ingrid, who do you have at number 7 on your list of the greatest actors from the golden age of Hollywood?
Number 7 is Spencer Tracy. Spencer had a subtle power in his acting. He was honest and deeply skilled, with a humility that made his work even more compelling.
Subtle power is such an intriguing way to describe an actor. How did Spencer Tracy demonstrate that on screen?
He didn't need grand gestures or loud emotions. His strength came from the quiet moments, the way he could convey a world of feelings with just a glance or a slight change in expression.
What roles of his do you think showcase this subtlety best?
Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and Judgment at Nuremberg immediately come to mind. In both, his presence commands the screen without ever overshadowing the story.
Did you ever work with Spencer Tracy?
Yes, I was fortunate enough to work with him in For Whom the Bell Tolls. His professionalism and genuine nature made every scene feel natural and real.
What made Spencer Tracy different from other actors of his era?
His humility. Despite his fame, he never let ego get in the way of his craft. That grounded approach made his performances authentic and relatable.
How did his acting style influence the industry?
He paved the way for a more naturalistic style of acting in Hollywood. He showed that less can be more, and that subtlety can carry incredible emotional weight.
Was there a particular scene or moment from his films that left a strong impression on you?
Yes, the courtroom scenes in Judgment at Nuremberg. His quiet authority and conviction were unforgettable.
How do you think Spencer Tracy's personality off screen reflected in his acting?
He was humble and kind, traits that seeped into his roles. You never felt he was pretending. He was simply being himself in a way that touched audiences.
In your opinion, what did Spencer Tracy bring to the Golden Age that was unique?
He brought honesty. At a time when many actors played grand heroes or villains, Spencer brought real, flawed, and deeply human characters to life.
How did his subtle style compare to the more theatrical performances common in that period?
His style was refreshing. While some actors were larger than life, Spencer's grounded approach gave a new dimension to film acting.
Did Spencer Tracy inspire your own acting approach?
Very much so. His belief in honesty and restraint encouraged me to explore emotional depth in a sincere way.
What kind of roles suited Spencer Tracy best?
Roles that required integrity, moral strength, or quiet determination. He excelled as a man faced with difficult choices.
How do you think modern actors can learn from Spencer Tracy's legacy?
To trust the power of subtlety and to never underestimate the impact of truthful emotion conveyed simply.
Was there a defining moment in his career that you think set the tone for his legacy?
His Oscar-winning performances, like in Captains Courageous and Boys Town, showcase his range and deep commitment to authenticity.
How did audiences of the time respond to his style?
They connected deeply because they saw themselves in his characters, imperfect, thoughtful, and real people.
If you were to sum up Spencer Tracy in a few words, what would they be?
Quiet strength, humility, and true artistry.
Ingrid, moving on to number 6 on your list of the best actors from Hollywood's golden age, who do you have?
Number 6 is Laurence Olivier. He was a master of his craft with such classical grace. His performances were always rich and profound, a true inspiration for any actor.
Laurence Olivier is often considered one of the greatest actors in history. What about his style made him so exceptional?
His dedication to the classical tradition of acting was unmatched. He brought Shakespearean elegance to the screen, but also made his characters accessible and emotionally vivid.
Was there a particular Olivier performance that inspired you most?
His portrayal of Hamlet and Richard T. Dye were legendary. On film, Hamlet was a revelation, such a deep exploration of the character's inner turmoil.
How did Olivier's theatrical background influence his film acting?
It gave him a powerful command of language and presence. But what set him apart was his ability to adapt that theatricality to the intimacy of the camera.
Did you have any personal interactions with Olivier?
Yes, I met him a few times. He was intensely passionate about acting and very generous with advice to younger actors.
What did you learn from him?
The importance of discipline and the value of truly understanding your character's psychology. He believed every role deserved complete devotion.
Olivier was also a director. Did his experience behind the camera affect his acting?
Absolutely. He understood storytelling from all angles, which made his performances layered and thoughtful.
What do you think modern actors could take from Laurence Olivier's legacy?
The commitment to mastering the craft, the respect for the text, and the blending of intellect with emotion.
Laurence Olivier was known for both classical roles and more contemporary parts. Which did you find more compelling?
His classical roles had a majestic quality, but his contemporary roles showed his versatility. Both were equally compelling.
How did audiences of the time respond to his performances?
They were captivated by his intensity and the grandeur he brought. He made high art feel personal.
Was there a signature trait or style Olivier consistently showed?
A regal presence combined with intense emotional depth. He was a true chameleon of the stage and screen.
How did Olivier influence your own acting style?
His dedication to truth in character and his meticulous preparation were inspiring. I always admired his ability to fully inhabit a role.
Do you think Olivier's classical training set a standard in Hollywood at the time?
Definitely, he raised the bar for what film acting could achieve, blending theatrical tradition with cinematic subtlety.
What was Olivier like off-screen?
He was deeply intellectual, sometimes reserved, but with a warm passion for art and life.
His collaborations with other actors and directors were notable. Did you ever work with him directly?
Unfortunately, no, but his work influenced many I collaborated with, and his reputation was a benchmark.
What do you admire most about Laurence Olivier?
His unyielding dedication to excellence and his ability to bring classical literature to life for a broad audience.
How would you describe his contribution to cinema?
A bridge between the grand tradition of theater and the evolving art of film, enriching both worlds.
If you could say one thing about Olivier's legacy to aspiring actors, what would it be?
Always respect your craft, dig deep into your character, and never settle for anything less than your best.
Ingrid, we've just talked about Laurence Olivier at number 6. Who takes the 5th spot on your list?
Number 5 is the incredible Gary Cooper. His natural, understated style was so refreshing. He had a quiet strength that spoke volumes.
Gary Cooper is often praised for his subtlety. What made his acting style stand out to you?
He wasn't flashy or overly dramatic. Instead, he conveyed so much with the smallest gestures and expressions. It felt authentic, believable.
Did you have the chance to work with Gary Cooper?
Yes, I did. Working alongside him was truly a privilege. His professionalism and calm presence made every scene better.
How did Gary's approach influence your own performances?
His ability to be completely in the moment and to trust the simplicity of a scene taught me the power of restraint.
Can you recall a specific film or role where Gary Cooper's strength really shone?
High Noon is a perfect example. His portrayal of Will Kane was quietly heroic. He didn't need to shout to command attention.
What did you admire most about Gary Cooper as a person?
He was humble and down to earth. Despite his fame, he never lost his sincerity or grounded nature.
How would you describe his impact on the film industry?
Gary brought a new kind of masculinity to the screen, strong yet sensitive, simple yet deeply compelling.
What was it like sharing scenes with him?
Very natural. He listened carefully, reacted honestly, and never tried to overpower the moment.
Do you remember any advice Gary gave you?
He once said, "Act like yourself and the audience will believe you." That stuck with me.
Did Gary's understated style ever present challenges in terms of directing or filming?
Sometimes directors wanted bigger reactions, but Gary stayed true to his style. That's why his work still resonates.
How did audiences respond to his performances at the time?
They loved his authenticity. People saw themselves in him, ordinary but heroic.
Was Gary Cooper more about internal emotion than external drama?
Absolutely. His emotions were felt beneath the surface, which made his characters relatable and real.
How did Gary balance his on-screen persona with his private life?
He was very private and valued family. That groundedness showed in his calm, measured performances.
Would you say Gary Cooper changed the way leading men were portrayed in Hollywood?
Yes, he made vulnerability a strength, paving the way for more nuanced male roles.
How did Gary's voice and delivery contribute to his style?
His voice was calm, steady, and sincere. It drew the viewer in without forcing attention.
Did you notice any evolution in Gary's acting over his career?
He became more confident in his subtlety, perfecting the art of saying much with little.
If you could summarize Gary Cooper's legacy in one sentence, what would it be?
A master of quiet strength whose natural grace continues to inspire actors today.
Ingrid, moving on to number 4 on your list, who do we have?
That would be Clark Gable, truly the ultimate leading man of his time.
Clark Gable is often called the King of Hollywood. What made his presence so commanding?
He had this incredible magnetism, strong, confident, but also with a surprising sensitivity beneath that rugged exterior.
You worked with Clark Gable in Intermezzo and other films, didn't you?
Actually, Intermezzo was with Leslie Howard, but I did work with Clark in other projects. His presence on set was undeniable.
What was it like acting opposite him?
He made it easy to believe in the story. His charisma filled every frame, but he was also generous to his co-stars.
Clark's raw masculinity is often talked about. How did that influence the kinds of roles he took?
He was perfect for roles that demanded both toughness and vulnerability, like Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind.
What about his sensitivity? That's not always associated with the classic leading men.
Exactly, but Clark had a depth. He could be charming and playful, yet deeply emotional when the scene required it.
Did you find him easy to collaborate with on emotional scenes?
Very much so. He was intuitive and brought a natural honesty that made those moments authentic.
What do you think set Clark apart from other actors of his generation?
His blend of strength and tenderness, coupled with his effortless charm, it made him timeless.
How did Clark prepare for his roles?
He was very dedicated, spending time understanding his characters, deeply rather than relying on just looks or bravado.
Was Clark a perfectionist on set?
He had high standards, but was also relaxed, which kept the atmosphere creative and open.
Did his off-screen personality reflect his on-screen persona?
In many ways, yes. He was warm, genuine, and had a great sense of humor.
Clark Gable was also known for his iconic voice. How important was that to his impact?
His voice carried authority and warmth. It was a big part of his appeal.
Would you say Clark redefined what it meant to be a leading man in Hollywood?
Absolutely. He showed that masculinity could be multifaceted, strong but sensitive, commanding yet approachable.
Do you have a favorite Clark Gable film?
Gone with the Wind will always be special. His portrayal of Rhett Butler is legendary.
What about working with him made those films so memorable?
His chemistry with co-stars, his presence, and his ability to make every scene feel alive.
How did audiences of that era respond to Clark?
They adored him. He was a symbol of strength and charm during some very challenging times.
Would you say his influence still resonates today?
Definitely many actors still look to Clark Gable as a benchmark for charisma and depth.
If you had to sum up Clark Gable in one sentence, what would you say?
A legendary leading man who defined an era with his raw masculinity and tender heart.
Now, Ingrid, at number 3 on your list, we have James Stewart. What can you tell us about him?
Jimmy Stewart, a truly remarkable actor with an incredible everyman quality that made him so special.
Everyman quality. Could you elaborate on that?
He had this genuine sincerity and warmth that made audiences immediately connect with him. He felt like someone you could trust, someone real.
Was it that sincerity that made his performances so touching?
Absolutely. Whether he was in a light-hearted comedy or a serious drama, his heart always shone through.
You worked with James Stewart, correct?
Yes, we shared the screen in the shop around the corner. Working with him was a joy. His authenticity was inspiring.
What was your impression of him on set?
He was humble, down to earth, and deeply committed to his craft. He never put on airs, just pure talent and kindness.
How did Jimmy's style differ from other actors of his era?
Many actors played larger-than-life characters, but Jimmy's strength was his ability to be relatable. He was the guy next door, with real emotions.
What roles of his do you think best capture his essence?
It's a Wonderful Life is the perfect example. His portrayal of George Bailey showed his range, hope, despair, love, and resilience.
What do you think audiences felt when watching James Stewart?
They saw themselves in him. His honesty made them feel understood and inspired.
Did his acting influence your own performances?
Definitely, Jimmy's naturalism encouraged me to bring more vulnerability and truth to my roles.
How did James prepare for his characters?
He was thoughtful and patient, often drawing from personal experience to ground his performances in reality.
Was he a perfectionist on set?
He was meticulous but never overbearing. He wanted every scene to feel honest and meaningful.
What was his off-screen personality like?
Just as genuine and kind as you'd expect, he was warm, funny, and loyal to friends and family.
How important was Jimmy Stewart's voice and mannerisms to his appeal?
His voice was distinctive, warm, and slightly hesitant, which added to his charm and relatability.
Did he ever surprise you with his performances?
Yes, he could be unexpectedly powerful, especially in dramatic moments. He had a quiet intensity that stayed with you.
Would you say James Stewart helped redefine leading men of his time?
He certainly broadened the definition, showing strength through sincerity rather than bravado.
What legacy did he leave in Hollywood?
A legacy of heartfelt, honest storytelling and a model for actors seeking to connect deeply with audiences.
Do you have a favorite memory working with him?
I remember how effortlessly he made me feel at ease on set, creating a natural chemistry that translated beautifully on screen.
If you could describe James Stewart in one sentence, what would it be?
Jimmy Stewart was the embodiment of warmth and sincerity, a timeless everyman who touched hearts with every role.
Now, Ingrid, coming in at number 2 on your list is Cary Grant. What makes him stand out to you?
Oh, Cary Grant, such elegance and charm. His presence on screen was simply unmatched.
You worked with him in Notorious, right? How was that experience?
Yes, Notorious was a wonderful collaboration. Cary brought such wit and sophistication to his role, which really complemented my character.
How would you describe his acting style?
He was a master of blending humor with deep emotion, as Cary had this effortless grace that made even the most complex scenes feel natural.
Was his humor spontaneous or carefully crafted?
A bit of both, I think. He had impeccable timing, but also knew exactly when to hold back for dramatic effect.
What was it like working with him off camera?
He was incredibly charming and professional, always supportive and encouraging to his co-stars.
Did Cary inspire you personally as an actress?
Very much so. His ability to balance lightness with seriousness pushed me to explore more nuanced performances.
What qualities do you think made Cary Grant so memorable to audiences?
His sophistication, humor, and undeniable charisma. He was someone you wanted to watch again and again.
How did Cary approach his roles compared to others of his time?
He combined classical elegance with modern sensibility. Cary understood the importance of subtlety.
Were there any moments on set that stood out during Notorious?
Many. I recall a scene where his playful banter lightened a tense moment. His timing was flawless.
Did Cary have a unique way of connecting with his co-stars?
He made you feel like equals, creating a trusting and collaborative atmosphere.
What did you learn from him about acting?
That grace and wit are powerful tools. You don't always need grand gestures to move an audience.
How important was Cary's physical presence and style?
It was integral. His posture and mannerisms conveyed confidence and sophistication without effort.
Did he ever surprise you with his depth as an actor?
Yes, beyond the charm, he could express profound emotion, revealing a complex inner life.
How did audiences react to his performances?
They adored him. Cary was both a romantic hero and a relatable man.
What legacy does Cary Grant leave in Hollywood?
A legacy of timeless elegance, wit, and the perfect blend of comedy and drama.
If you could sum Cary Grant up in one phrase, what would it be?
The epitome of charm and sophistication with a heart full of wit.
And finally, Ingrid, who holds the top spot on your list of the greatest Hollywood actors?
That would be Humphrey Bogart. Truly, he was a force of nature on screen.
You both starred together in Casablanca, one of the most iconic films ever made. What was it like working with him?
Working with Humphrey was pure magic. He brought such intensity and depth to every scene.
What set him apart from other actors of that era?
His ability to convey vulnerability beneath that tough exterior. He was real raw and captivating.
Can you describe his presence on set?
It was commanding yet subtle. Humphrey didn't need to shout to be heard. His mere look spoke volumes.
How did his charm influence his performances?
His charm was natural, effortless. It made his characters deeply likable even when they were flawed.
What was the dynamic between you two like during filming?
It was electric. We had a connection that translated beautifully on screen, creating unforgettable chemistry.
Was there a particular scene from Casablanca that you remember vividly?
Yes, the airport farewell scene. Humphrey's restrained emotion made it profoundly moving.
How did he approach his craft as an actor?
Humphrey was meticulous, instinctive. He knew when to hold back and when to let emotions flow freely.
Did you learn anything from him personally?
I learned the power of subtlety, that sometimes less truly is more.
What kind of energy did he bring off camera?
He was humble and kind, with a quick wit that made working with him a joy.
How did audiences respond to Humphrey Bogart's roles?
They adored him. He became the embodiment of the everyman hero with a complex soul.
Would you say his legacy is still felt today?
Absolutely. His work continues to inspire actors and audiences alike around the world.
How would you describe his impact on Hollywood's golden age?
He helped define it, bringing great authenticity and heart to the silver screen.
If you could sum up Humphrey Bogart in one sentence, what would it be?
A brilliant actor whose intensity and charm created timeless magic on film.
Did his presence affect the entire cast and crew?
Definitely. His professionalism and dedication uplifted everyone on set.
What made him unforgettable in Casablanca?
His subtle expressions, his voice, and that unforgettable mix of toughness and vulnerability.
Would you say your career was influenced by working with him?
Without a doubt. Collaborating with Humphrey shaped my approach to acting forever.
We've journeyed through your favorite actors, Ingrid, and now we turn to the women, the powerhouses of classic cinema. Shall we begin with number 10?
Yes, let's. It's a pleasure to talk about the women who inspired me, challenged the norms, and gave so much to this industry.
At number 10, we have none other than Rita Hayworth. Known as the love goddess of Hollywood's golden age, her performance in Gilda remains iconic.
Oh yes, Rita, she had an ethereal glow about her. When she walked into a room or onto a screen, everyone turned.
She had this effortless magnetism, didn't she? That famous glove scene in Gilda, it was bold, yet elegant.
It was unforgettable. And yet she wasn't just about seduction. There was always something tender behind her eyes, something etching.
Do you remember the first time you met her?
Yes, it was at a studio party. I was quite new, and she came over with that warm smile of hers and said, "BRB actresses have to look out for one another." I never forgot that.
That's beautiful. Many only saw the glamour, but behind it she faced her own battles.
Indeed, Rita's life wasn't always as dazzling as her screen image, but she carried herself with grace through every storm. That's the mark of a true artist.
Do you have a favorite Rita Hayworth film?
The Lady from Shanghai, it was so mysterious, so haunting, and she transformed completely. That platinum blonde look, daring for her and so powerful.
Yes, that was a bold choice. Many forget how versatile she was.
Very true. She could dance, she could act with intensity. Not many could wear all those hats.
She and Fred Astaire were a dynamic pair too, especially in You'll Never Get Rich.
Oh, they moved like poetry. Watching her dance was like watching music take form.
Some say Rita symbolized the fantasy of the 1940s woman, glamorous, romantic, slightly out of reach.
Yes, but she also symbolized resilience. That's what I admired most. She fought for her place in a world that often tried to define her.
Do you think she inspired women of her time?
Without a doubt. She wasn't just a face. She was a force, strong, graceful, and endlessly captivating. And even in her quiet moments, she commanded attention.
It's remarkable how her legacy continues to live on.
It does. Every time I see a young actress take command of a scene with elegance and strength, I think of Rita. She set the standard.
Beautifully said, Ingrid. Rita Hayworth at number 10, timeless and unforgettable.
Yes, a goddess of the screen, but also a woman of depth and dignity. She earned every ounce of our admiration.
Now moving on to number 9, a woman with elegance and effortless charm, Claudette Colbert.
Ah yes, Claudette. She had such a sharp mind and presence. She made everything look so easy, especially comedy, which is anything but.
She really did. It Happened One Night practically set the standard for romantic comedies.
And she won an Oscar for it. Rightly so, her timing was impeccable. That scene with the blanket and the walls of Jericho. Iconic.
Absolutely unforgettable. And the way she matched Clark Gable beat for beat, pure magic.
She had this delightful mix of sophistication and mischief. You never quite knew what she was going to do next, and that's what made her so captivating.
Do you think a comedic style influenced actresses who came after?
Oh, yes, she showed that you could be glamorous and hilarious, and that quick wit could be just as powerful as beauty.
I feel like Midnight doesn't get talked about enough. She was brilliant in that too.
Yes, Midnight was deliciously clever. She had such fineness in how she delivered a line, playful but always rooted in truth.
I read that she insisted on being filmed from her left side only, yet it never limited her performances.
That's true. She was particular but never difficult. She simply knew what worked for her and stood by it. That kind of self-awareness is admirable.
Was she someone you crossed paths with often?
Not often, but when I did, I remember thinking how calm and in control she was. A true professional. And she always had a clever remark ready.
That poise came through in every role. Even when her characters were frazzled, she carried a sort of grace underneath.
Yes, she had that quiet strength, and she made audiences fall in love without ever trying too hard. That's a rare gift.
Do you think she gets the credit she deserves today?
Not enough, in my opinion, but anyone who really studies the craft will recognize her brilliance. She was a trailblazer for intelligent, independent women on screen.
And an actress who could hold her own in both comedies and dramas.
Precisely. Claudette was more than just charming. She was sharp, layered, and always in control of her performance.
Number 9, Claudette Colbert. A master of her craft and a queen of classic comedy.
A true original. I'm so glad we included her.
And now at number 8, the unforgettable voice, the piercing gaze. Lauren Bacall.
Oh, Lauren, what a presence she had. That voice upstopped Cook's time. Sultry, confident, mysterious.
Exactly. From the moment she appeared in To Have and Have Not, opposite Humphrey Bogart, she had everyone under her spell.
She was so young in that film, yet carried herself like a seasoned star. She had a natural poise, almost like she had been born for the screen.
And that line, "You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve?" One of the most iconic deliveries in Hollywood history.
Absolutely, and she delivered it with such subtlety and control. It was never about theatrics with Lauren, it was about precision.
Her chemistry with Bogart was electric, off-screen too, of course.
Yes, and yet she never let herself be overshadowed. She had this strong individuality. Even when paired with someone like Bogart, she held her ground.
She brought intelligence to every role. Her characters always seemed a step ahead.
Very true, whether it was A Big Sleep or Key Largo, she played women who were equal to the men around them, or even a bit more clever.
Did you ever meet her?
A few times. She was warm, but with that wry wit, she'd say something clever under her breath and leave you thinking about it hours later.
Sounds like the kind of sharp elegance she projected on screen was very real.
It was. She didn't have to pretend. Lauren was elegance and strength, with just a flicker of danger.
Would you say she was ahead of her time?
Oh, without question. She played complex women before the industry knew what to do with them. She opened the door for so many actresses who didn't want to be just the love interest.
And she kept reinventing herself, stage, screen, drama, comedy.
Yes, she had range and courage. She never coasted on beauty. She always chose substance.
Now coming in at number 7, the ever enigmatic, the divine Greta Garbo.
Ah, Garbo. Just saying her name feels like a whisper. She was otherworldly, not just an actress, but a phenomenon.
She had that silent era mystique, didn't she? Even after the talkies arrived, her presence remained ethereal.
Yes, she could convey more emotion with one glance than most actors could with an entire monologue. In Camille, I remember being completely swept away by her vulnerability.
And in Queen Christina, that final scene where she says nothing, but you feel everything just by watching her face.
Exactly, that was her brilliance. She didn't perform, she revealed. She had this quiet intensity that made you lean and listen, even in silence.
You both came from Sweden. Did you ever meet her?
We never worked together, but yes, once in Los Angeles. It was brief, and she was as private, enigmatic in person as she was on screen. She was kind, but kept a distance, as if protecting some sacred part of herself.
That makes sense. Her decision to retire early at the peak of her career only added to the mystique.
She was always true to herself. Garbo didn't need the limelight, she needed art, truth. And when she felt she had said what she needed to say through film, she simply walked away.
Which might be why her performances still feel timeless. There's no overexposure, no fatigue, just legend.
Yes, and her transition from to sound films flawless. She kept that mystery intact, even when she spoke.
And yet in Ninochka she showed she could do comedy too. Gubbo laughs. A whole marketing campaign around that one line.
Yes, and she did it beautifully, with poised wit, and that glimmer in her eyes.
Would you say she inspired your own career?
Very much so. As a fellow Swede, she showed me it was possible to come from our small country and conquer the cinematic world. But more importantly, she showed that you could do it on your own terms.
So at number 7, the mysterious magnetic Greta Garbo, a legend who needed no words to be heard.
Indeed, she didn't just act, she existed on screen like a dream you never wanted to wake from.
At number 6, we have a woman of true grit, power, and range, Barbara Stanwyck.
Oh, Barbara, she was a force, raw, real, and completely unafraid to show every corner of a character, no matter how flawed.
She had such control over her performances. Whether in film, noir, melodrama, or comedy, she always owned the screen.
Yes, in Double Indemnity Fapple, she made Phyllis Dietrichson both terrifying and strangely sympathetic. She held you in the palm of her hand.
And then there's Stella Dallas. That final scene where she watches her daughter's wedding from outside, tears in her eyes.
It breaks your heart every time. Barbara had this uncanny ability to make you with everything without ever being theatrical. She had truth in her eyes.
Did you two ever cross paths?
A few times, yes. And what always struck me was how down to earth she was. There was no ego, just quiet professionalism and respect for the work.
And yet on screen she could be devastating. Her timing in Ball of Fire, brilliant.
Oh, her comedic instincts were razor sharp. She could switch from seductive to hilarious in a heartbeat, always with impeccable timing.
She was one of the few stars who could move seamlessly from the silver screen to television later on and still captivate audiences.
That speaks volumes about her talent and adaptability. She didn't rely on glamour. She relied on craft.
There's a toughness to her, but it never feels cold.
That's what I admired most. Underneath that strength was an ocean of emotion. She made you believe her every single time.
Now, Ingrid, let's talk about number 5. A woman whose performances are etched into cinematic history, Vivien Leigh.
Ah, Vivien. Such a delicate beauty with the heart of a lion. She was mesmerizing. There was always something simmering beneath the surface.
It's hard to think of Gone with the Wind without seeing her as Scarlett O'Hara. Fairy, manipulative, yet so vulnerable.
That role was immense, and she carried it with astonishing poise and energy. Scarlett could have easily been unlikable, but Vivien made her fascinating.
She won her first Oscar for that performance, didn't she?
Yes, and deservedly so. But I was even more shaken by her performance as Blanche Dubois in A Streetcar Named Desire. That was raw, tragic artistry.
You could see how deeply she lived in her characters. That level of emotional intensity. It wasn't just acting, it was transformation.
Exactly. Vivi immersed herself so completely. You could feel every fracture in Blanche's soul just by looking into her eyes.
And yet off-screen she faced many personal battles. It's remarkable how she continued to deliver such profound performances despite that.
Yes, her strength and courage were immense. She had the fragility of a rose, but thorns of steel when it came to her craft.
Did you ever work together or meet her?
We met a few times, for always graceful, always composed. There was a quiet dignity about her, even in the shadows of struggle.
Vivien Leigh, an actress of elegance, intensity, and unforgettable presence.
She brought poetry to the screen, a true artist whose legacy still glows.
Ingrid, coming in at number 4, is the ever-graceful Audrey Hepburn. What comes to mind when you think of her?
Grace, pure grace. Audrey moved like a ballerina and spoke like a poet. She had this timeless elegance you couldn't look away from.
She truly defined the word iconic, didn't she? Breakfast at Tiffany's alone is enough to solidify that.
Oh, yes, Holly Golightly was whimsical yet lonely, and Audrey played both sides of her so delicately. She made glamour feel vulnerable.
And of course she won hearts with Roman Holiday. That was her first major role, right?
Yes, and she won an Oscar for it. Her joy, her innocence, her spark, it was contagious. You couldn't help but fall in love with her.
She had this rare ability to blend sophistication with sincerity.
Exactly. She never had to raise her voice. Her charm whispered, and the world leaned in to listen.
And in Sabrina, opposite William Holden and Bogart, she was luminous.
She held her own so effortlessly with those two giants. Her poise made everyone else rise to her level.
Audrey wasn't just admired for her acting either. Her fashion sense, her humanitarian work, she inspired beyond the screen.
She was a true humanitarian. After her acting career, she gave her time to UNICEF. That, to me, showed the depth of her character.
There's something so enduring about her. She's never gone out of style. Her influence still touches fashion, film, and kindness.
Audrey reminded us that elegance wasn't just how you dressed. It was how you treated others, how you carried yourself.
Did you ever have a chance to work with her?
No, but I admired her from afar. Every time I saw her on screen, I thought, what a rare and beautiful spirit.
She had such a gentle presence, and yet you could feel the strength underneath.
Yes, like silk over steel, Audrey was delicate but never fragile.
A rare soul who continues to shine long after the credits roll.
That's Audrey, eternal, elegant, unforgettable.
Now, Ingrid, number 3, we have the incomparable Joan Crawford. What do you think made Joan such an enduring icon?
Joan was the epitome of glamour and strength. She had this fierce intensity that could fill any room or screen.
She certainly mastered drama. Mildred Pierce is often cited as her best work, winning her that well-deserved Oscar.
Yes, Mildred Pierce showed her reign beautifully, her mother's fierce love, her ambition, and had her vulnerability all wrapped up in one powerful performance.
What about her earlier films like Possessed? Did you find her style different then?
In Possessed, Joan was raw and passionate. You could see her hunger for success and love. It was palpable and electric.
Joan had a way of transforming every role into a personal statement, didn't she?
Absolutely. She made every character unforgettable. Whether she played a glamorous socialite or a struggling woman, she owned it completely.
She was known for her incredible work ethic. Did that influence the Hollywood culture at the time?
Joan's dedication was legendary. She worked tirelessly to perfect her craft, and that set a standard many aspired to.
Her personal life was also quite dramatic and often publicized. Did that affect her career?
It did, but Joan was resilient. She turned her personal challenges into fuel for her performances, giving them even more depth.
Her style and glamour made her a fashion icon too. What do you think made her stand out visually?
Joan's sharp cheekbones and striking eyes gave her a dramatic silhouette. She carried elegance with a hint of danger.
Do you think Joan's persona on screen was different from who she was off screen?
In many ways, yes. She was more private and guarded off screen, but that mystery only added to her allure.
She also worked through Hollywood's studio system's ups and downs. How did she navigate that?
Joan was a survivor. She adapted with the changing times, reinventing herself when needed, which is why her career lasted so long.
Her influence is still felt today, especially in how actresses approach complex, layered roles.
Indeed, Joan showed that women could be both glamorous and fiercely complex, a model many actresses still follow.
Did you ever share the screen or work with Joan?
Not directly, but I always respected her tremendously. Watching her act was always inspiring.
What would you say to someone discovering Crawford for the first time?
Prepare to be captivated. Joan was a true force, beautiful, passionate, and unforgettable.
Now, Ingrid, coming in at number 2, we have the legendary Katharine Hepburn. What strikes you most about Katharine?
Catherine was truly one of a kind, fiercely independent, incredibly intelligent, and unapologetically herself. That spirit shone through in every role.
She had such a long, successful career. Which of her films stand out most to you?
The Philadelphia Story is a masterpiece, witty, sophisticated, and lively, but I also adore Bringing Up Baby for its comedic genius.
She was also groundbreaking in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, wasn't she?
Yes, that film was ahead of its time, and Catharine's role showed her courage to challenge social norms through her art.
Katharine was famous for her strong personality off-screen as well. Did that affect how she approached her craft?
Absolutely. She didn't just act, she lived her values. That strength made her performances authentic and compelling.
Many admired her refusal to conform to Hollywood's expectations for women.
Exactly. She rejected stereotypes. She wasn't afraid to be different, to play complex, strong women. That paved the way for future generations.
Her voice and mannerisms were quite distinctive. Did that ever limit her roles?
On the contrary, they became part of her signature. Her unique presence made her unforgettable.
Katharine Hepburn won 4 Oscars, an incredible feat. What do you think made her so award-worthy?
Her dedication to truth in acting, her emotional depth, and her ability to convey strength and vulnerability all at once.
She also had a famous partnership with Spencer Tracy. What can you tell us about that?
Their chemistry was electric, both on and off screen. They brought out the best in each other, creating some of Hollywood's most memorable films.
Katharine's legacy is one of defiance and grace. How do you think she changed Hollywood for actresses?
She showed women could be stars on their own terms, intelligent, bold, and independent.
Did you ever have the chance to meet or work with Katharine?
We met briefly at events. I admired her from afar, such a force of nature.
What advice do you think Katharine would give to young actresses today?
Be true to yourself. Never sacrifice your integrity for fame. That's what she lived by.
She's a timeless icon. Do you think her work still resonates with modern audiences?
Definitely. Her films are timeless because she portrayed universal truths about love, courage, and identity.
If you could sum up Katharine Hepburn in one sentence, what would it be?
A fearless trailblazer who redefined what it meant to be a leading lady.
Thank you, Ingrid, for sharing such wonderful insights on Katharine Hepburn.
It was my pleasure. Celebrating these remarkable women is always inspiring.
And now we've reached the top of our list. Ingrid, the #1 actress of the Golden Age. Bette Davis, what comes to your mind first?
Intensity. She had a kind of fearlessness that was unmatched. Bette didn't act to be loved. She acted to be truthful.
She's often described as a powerhouse. Do you think that's accurate?
Very much so. Her range, her command of every scene. She had this incredible ability to dominate the screen without overpowering the story.
Let's talk about All About Eve. That performance was iconic, wasn't it?
Margot Channing, that role fit her like a glove. Sharp, elegant, emotionally complex. It was Bette at her finest.
She was also brilliant in Now Voyager. The transformation she showed was so moving.
Absolutely. She took us on that journey. Every nuance of that character's growth felt genuine and earned.
And then there's Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. A terrifying and fascinating performance.
That film was shocking in the best way. Bette dared to be ugly, to be grotesque, and that's rare. It showed her total commitment.
Do you think her bold choices helped pave the way for more complex female roles?
Definitely, she refused to be boxed in. That made it possible for women to be more than just romantic leads.
She had a reputation for being difficult at times. Was that misunderstood?
I believe so. She was demanding because she cared. She wanted excellence, and she achieved it.
Her eyes were legendary, weren't they?
Oh, yes, those Bette Davis eyes. They could pierce right through you, filled with fire and vulnerability.
She wasn't considered conventionally beautiful by Hollywood standards, yet she thrived. Why?
Because she focused on truth, not image. Her strength, her presence, that was her beauty.
Bette had over 100 acting credits. How did she sustain such a long and dynamic career?
She reinvented herself, from ingenue to anti-heroine to matriarch. She never stopped evolving.
Did you ever get to spend time with her off-screen?
Brief, she was sharp, witty, and unapologetically herself. She made you sit up and listen.
What do you think she valued most about acting?
The power of story. She once said acting was her life. She meant it.
Do you think she ever doubted her own success?
Perhaps, but she pushed through doubt with determination. That's what made her unforgettable.
There's something timeless about her work. Why do you think audiences still connect with her?
Because she was real. She brought raw emotion and humanity to every role.
She famously said, "We're without wonder and insight. Acting is just a business." Do you agree?
Completely. Bette made it an art, an act of truth, not just performance.
Did she inspire your own work?
Absolutely. Watching her made me braver. She gave us permission to take risks.
She was the first woman to receive 10 Academy Award nominations for acting. That's remarkable.
It's a testament to her brilliance and consistency. She never gave less than her best.
How would you describe Bette Davis to someone who's never seen her films?
A force of nature, unflinching, electric, and always unforgettable.
Do you think we'll ever see another like her?
There will be great actresses, but only one Bette Davis.
As we close our list, it feels fitting to honor her at #1.
She earned that place through talent, courage, and the refusal to be ordinary.
Thank you, Ingrid, for taking us on this journey through these incredible women.
It was my honor. They're not just stars, they're legends.
Ingrid, we've covered the best actresses of Hollywood's golden era. Shall we now move to directors?
Absolutely. Directors were the captains of our ships. Without them, none of our performances would have mattered.
Then let's start with #10 on your list. Who takes that spot?
Michael Curtiz, a name that may not always get the glamour, but goodness, the man was extraordinary.
The legendary director of Casablanca, of course. What was your first impression of him?
Intense, very focused. He had this sharp, authoritative presence on set. He didn't talk much, but when he did, you listened.
Was he a hands-on director when it came to working with actors?
Actually, not in the traditional sense. He rarely spoke about emotions or backstories. His direction came through movement, framing, blocking. He sculpted the film more than he coaxed performances.
And yet, Casablanca is filled with unforgettable performances.
Exactly. That's the brilliance of Curtiz. He let us breathe and control emotions. He trusted us. He controlled the world around us so that the emotions could unfold naturally.
That's fascinating. How did he handle the pace on set?
Fast, very fast. He didn't believe in wasting time. We'd rehearse once or twice, and then it was time to shoot. No overthinking.
Did that ever feel rushed to you?
At first, yes. I came from a different approach. More rehearsal, more immersion. But Curtiz's confidence was contagious. He knew what he wanted, and it worked.
He directed over 170 films. How do you think he managed that?
Discipline, efficiency, and a mind like a machine. He could see a film in his head before the first scene was even shot.
What about his accent? I've heard stories that it was difficult to understand.
Oh, yes, his Hungarian accent was very thick. Sometimes he would mix up English words. Bring me the poodle when he meant puddle, things like that. But we understood the intent.
So communication was never really an obstacle.
Never. His energy was so clear, his vision so strong. Words weren't always necessary.
You mentioned earlier that he sculpted the world. Could you elaborate?
Yes, he had an eye for composition. Every frame had balance, depth, movement. He created a living atmosphere which brought everything and everyone to life.
Did he talk about character arcs or emotions with you?
Rarely. I had to find Osa on my own, but the world he built made her real. His control of lighting, shadows, the way he placed us in scenes, that guided me more than words could.
How did he handle scenes with high emotional stakes?
He made them look effortless. There's a scene where Humphrey and I say goodbye. It was raining, the fog rolling in. Curtis created that mood so perfectly that all we had to do was feel it.
He was also known for directing different genres, musicals, film noir, war dramas. How did he adapt so easily?
He was versatile but consistent in one thing, storytelling. Whether it was Yankee Doodle Dandy or Mildred Pierce, his narrative structure was always tight, clean, and powerful.
Was he ever emotional on set?
No, he kept things strictly professional. But you could feel his pride when something went right, a flicker of a smile, a nod. That was all.
What was his relationship with actors like in general?
Respectful. He didn't coddle us. He expected us to do our job just as he did his. That mutual respect created a working environment.
Did he ever surprise you?
Yes, in the editing room. When I saw Casablanca for the first time, I was stunned at how beautifully it all came together. He'd made choices I never even noticed while filming.
How would you summarize Cortez's legacy?
He was a giant who never sought the spotlight. He left behind films that outlived him. What more could you ask from an artist?
Do you think he gets the credit he deserves?
Not nearly enough. People remember the actors, the quotes, the songs. But behind all of it, there was Michael Curtiz, making it all happen.
One last question about him. If you had to describe him in one word.
Relentless in the best way.
That's powerful. Thank you, Ingrid. What a portrait you've painted of a director who truly helped shape Hollywood.
It was my honor to know him, to work with him. He was one of a kind.
Ingrid, we just spoke at length about Michael Curtiz. Who takes the 9th spot on your list of Golden Age directors?
That would be Elia Kazan, a true actor's director, one of the few who could reach into the soul of a performer and bring something unexpected.
An actor's director. That's high praise coming from you.
Absolutely. Kazan understood actors because he was one himself. He knew how to pull performances from deep, hidden places.
He's known for films like A Streetcar Named Desire, On the Waterfront, and East of Eden. Each of those had such raw, emotional intensity.
That's what defined him. Raw realism. He stripped away the glamour and got to the human truth beneath the characters.
Did you ever work with him directly?
No, unfortunately not, but I met him several times. He was quiet but intense, always observing. You felt he was reading your thoughts.
What did actors say about working with him?
They often said he pushed them past their limits in the best way. Marlon Brando, for example, credited Kazan for shaping his early career.
Brando's performances under Kazan were unforgettable.
Because Kazan made him feel safe. He created a space where actors could be vulnerable, even ugly, and know it would serve the truth of the story.
How did Kazan work differently from someone like Curtiz?
Curtiz sculpted the visual world. Kazan sculpted the internal world. He was less concerned with camera tricks and more with emotional arcs.
Was he methodical in preparation?
Very. He often rehearsed like it was theater. He came from the group theater, and he treated film rehearsals with the same depth.
What about his style behind the camera?
His camera was often unobtrusive. It didn't draw attention to itself. The focus was always on the actors. He let their performances lead the visuals.
Do you think he changed Hollywood?
Without question, he helped usher in a more modern psychological style of acting. After Kazan, performance became less about posture and more about pain, truth, conflict.
He directed East of Eden, which gave us James Dean. What's your take on that?
He saw something fragile and powerful in Den and gave him room to explore it. That's what Kazan did best. He uncovered people's truths.
Some found him controversial. Was that reputation justified?
Partly. He made tough decisions during difficult political times. But strictly in terms of artistry, his contribution is undeniable.
Was there a particular quality that made him stand out?
Empathy. He didn't just direct people, he understood them. He made them feel seen, even if it was painful.
Did he push boundaries in storytelling?
Yes. Emotionally, socially, politically. On the Waterfront was not just a story about crime. It was a confession, a reckoning, and a human triumph.
What about his use of silence in scenes?
Masterful. He let characters sit in silence, stew in their emotions. That kind of patience gave scenes so much power.
Did you have a favorite performance from a Kazan film?
Vivian Leigh in Streetcar. She was brilliant, so fragile and fractured. And Brando, of course. It was like watching two forces of nature collide.
What did Kazan teach Hollywood?
That performance was not about beauty, but about honesty. That pain, conflict, and truth made better cinema than perfection.
Would you have liked to work with him?
Very much. I think we would have found great common ground. He respected actors deeply, and that meant everything to me.
Do you think directors today still follow Kazan's legacy?
Some do. Those who care about actors, about storytelling from the inside out. His spirit lives in every character-driven film.
How would you summarize his legacy in one sentence?
He made movies feel like mirrors, not fantasies, but reflections of who we really are.
What's one thing most people don't know about him?
That he was deeply sensitive. He carried the emotions of his actors with him. It was a heavy burden, but he bore it with strength.
What made him different from other directors of his era?
He didn't chase spectacle. He chased truth. In an era of gloss, he chose grit.
Thank you, Ingrid. That was a powerful tribute.
He earned every word. Elie Kazan changed the way we act and the way we feel about acting.
Now we're down to number 8 on our list of legendary directors from Hollywood's golden period. Ingrid, care to reveal who holds this spot?
Number 8, Vincent Minnelli, a true master of visual storytelling.
He was famous for his vivid use of color and meticulous attention to detail, wasn't he?
Absolutely. His films had a painterly beauty, almost like stepping into a dream.
An American in Paris comes to mind. That final bullet sequence was a visual masterpiece.
Yes, the colors, the choreography, the set design, it was also wonderfully orchestrated. He made musicals into high art.
And let's not forget Meet Me in St. Louis. It's one of those films that just feels like home.
I adore that film, the warmth, the nostalgia, the music. Minnelli had this rare ability to create emotion through aesthetics.
He had a very distinct signature, didn't he? You could always tell it was a Minnelli film.
Exactly, whether it was a musical or a melodrama, he brought the same care and elegance to every frame.
He also directed The Bad and the Beautiful, which gave us a different side of him. More biting, more dramatic.
That was a brilliant film. It showcased the darker side of Hollywood with such flair. He was never afraid to explore human complexity.
Minnelli worked so often with MGM, right? He really became part of their identity.
He and MGM were a match made in cinematic heaven. They gave him the canvas, and he painted magic.
Do you think his background in theater helped shape his film direction?
Without a doubt, he had an instinct for movement, for staging, for visual rhythm. It all came from that foundation.
There was also a certain romanticism in his films. Even the sad moments felt beautiful.
He never let tragedy lose its grace. That's something very few directors can do.
Minnelli also had a talent for bringing out wonderful performances, especially from his actresses.
He made women luminous on screen. He understood the nuance of performance and the power of subtle emotion.
Would you have liked to work with him?
Oh, very much. I always thought his sensibility would have matched well with mine. He told stories with such elegance.
It's interesting how he balanced musical exuberance with emotional depth.
Yes, and he did without sacrificing sincerity. Even the most lavish scenes never felt empty.
Do you have a favorite Minnelli film?
An American in Paris, perhaps, but Gigi is another I find endlessly charming.
He had quite an impact on the musical genre, didn't he?
He redefined, he elevated. Minnelli gave musicals a soul.
And beyond musicals, he proved he could handle intimate character-driven drama just as skillfully.
That's true versatility. He never let himself be boxed in by one style.
So a visual stylist, a romantic, a dramatist, and certainly worthy of our number 8 spot.
Without question. Vincent Minnelli was a poet with a camera, and his work will live on forever.
And now, Ingrid, we're moving on to number 7 on our list of legendary directors from Hollywood's golden age. Care to do the honors?
With pleasure. Number 7 is George Cukor, director who had an extraordinary way of bringing out the best in actresses.
He was often called the women's director, wasn't he?
Yes, but not in a limiting way. He truly respected women. He listened, he observed, and he guided with great care.
I think of Katharine Hepburn in the Philadelphia Story. She was magnificent.
Absolutely. That performance was sharp, funny, and vulnerable. Cukor gave her the space to shine.
He also directed the stunning My Fair Lady. Audrey Hepburn was radiant in it.
That film was a jewel, lush and perfectly composed. George knew how to build character arcs beautifully.
Do you know, Ingrid, he directed A Star is Born in 1954. Judy Garland's performance is unforgettable.
She poured her soul into that role, and George helped shape that emotion to something honest and devastating.
What do you think made him so good at working with actresses?
He was patient. He understood the emotional layers. He never forced anything. He let you discover the moment yourself.
He had a quiet kind of strength, didn't he?
Very much so. He wasn't the loudest voice on set, but he was always the most attentive.
I read he was meticulous, even with costume and set choices.
Yes, every detail mattered to him. He believed they helped the actor fully embody the role.
You two never collaborated, did you?
No, unfortunately not, but I would have loved to. I admired his sense of refinement and intelligence.
Do you think his theatrical roots influence his directing style?
Certainly, he had a strong sense of timing, and he valued dialogue. You always felt like you were part of something crafted, not just captured.
He seemed to have this special trust with his actors.
Trust is everything on a set. George gave it freely, and in return, we gave him our best.
He didn't chase trends either. He stayed true to his style.
He made timeless films. He was never flashy, just truthful.
Looking back, what's his most defining quality as a director?
Sensitivity. That's rare in this industry. He made everyone feel seen.
That's such a beautiful way to describe him.
It's how he made his actresses glow, not just on screen, but in their hearts.
He left behind some of the most elegant and emotionally rich films in history.
He did. George Cukor wasn't just a director of actresses, he was a guardian of emotion.
Well said. Number 7 on our list, and truly unforgettable.
To George, who taught us that grace and strength can exist in the same frame.
Now, Ingrid, we're moving into the top 6, and this one is quite the legend. Who do we have next?
At number 6, we have the one and only Orson Welles, a true cinematic revolutionary.
Ah, yes, the man who shook the foundations of Hollywood with Citizen Kane.
Indeed, that film wasn't just ahead of its time. It changed how films were made forever.
The use of deep focus, lighting, unconventional narrative structure.
All of it. Wells wasn't afraid to experiment. He broke the rules and rewrote them.
He was so young when he made Citizen Kane, wasn't he?
Only 25. Can you imagine directing, producing, and starring in such a masterpiece?
Do you remember what Hollywood's reaction was at the time?
Mixed to say the least. The industry was stunned. Some were threatened, others inspired.
It's often called the greatest film ever made.
For good reason. The emotional depth, the visual innovation, the bold storytelling, Wells put everything on the line.
And then there was the magnificent Ambersons, such a haunting portrait of change and loss.
It was poetic. Even though the studio recut it, his touch remained. He understood melancholy.
Did you ever meet him personally?
Yes, briefly. He had a powerful presence. His voice alone could fill a room.
And what about Touch of Evil? That opening tracking shot is legendary.
It's like a dance, gritty, thrilling, and hypnotic. Wells knew how to build tension with elegance.
He wasn't always supported by the studios, though, was he?
No, sadly. He struggled to find the creative freedom he deserved. He was misunderstood.
Do you think that struggle added to his mystique?
Definitely, he became a symbol of artistic defiance, a rebel with a camera.
What would you say is Wells' lasting impact?
He proved that cinema could be both personal and epic. He inspired generations to take risks.
He was fearless.
Fearless and visionary, his imagination had no limits.
Even when he was outside the system, he kept creating.
Because he was a true artist, he couldn't help but create. It was in his bones.
If you had acted in one of his films, what would you have loved most?
The freedom. He would have let me explore a character deeply without boundaries.
We're stepping into the top 5 now, Ingrid. Who's the director holding that spot?
That would be Howard Hawks, one of the most versatile directors Hollywood has ever seen.
Ah, yes, he could do it all. Comedies, westerns, film noir.
Exactly, and he did each genre with such skill. It's like he mastered the language of every style.
His Girl Friday is still celebrated for its rapid dialogue and sharp wit.
Oh, the pace of that film. Rosalind Russell and Cary Grant were electric under his direction.
Then you have Red River, complete shift to the rugged world of the western.
Yes, and he made it feel grand and personal at the same time. That was his genius.
Bringing Up Baby, pure screwball chaos and still so funny.
Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn were brilliant. Hawks had perfect comedic timing.
And then there's The Big Sleep, noir at its finest.
So moody, so layered, Hawks understood mystery without over-explaining. He let the audience think.
Do you think his ability to direct strong female characters set him apart?
Absolutely. His women were smart, bold, and witty. They weren't side characters. They drove the story.
That must have been refreshing to see as a leading actress.
Very. He respected intelligence in women, and that came through in his writing and direction.
He worked with so many stars. Bacall Grant.
He brought out something unique in each of them, and they all seemed to love working with him.
What would it have been like to be in one of his films?
Fast-paced, no doubt, but also exciting. He gave actors freedom and trusted their instincts.
Would you call him underrated?
Perhaps by critics, yes, but within the industry he was deeply respected. We all knew his brilliance
His films still hold up today, timeless really,
because he focused on characters and sharp writing that never goes out of style,
and he never stuck to just one kind of story.
which proves his mastery. He could do romance, action, suspense, and make them all sing.
What do you think his legacy is?
That great storytelling has no genre, just heart, intelligence, and rhythm, and Hawks had all three.
At number 4 on our list, Ingrid, we have a true master of uplifting cinema. Can you tell us who it is?
Ah, number 4, it must be Frank Capra. What a remarkable man. His films had a heartbeat, a soul. They weren't just stories, they were affirmations of faith in humanity. Watching a Capra film was like reminded that goodness still exists in the world. He made people feel that no matter how dark things got, there was always a glimmer of hope. And that's a beautiful legacy to leave behind.
His work certainly still resonates.
Absolutely. Take It's a Wonderful Life, for example. That film has endured for decades because it speaks to something timeless. George Bailey's struggle with self-worth, the idea that one life can impact so many others, those are themes that still touch audiences today. Capra had this magical way of wrapping profound truths inside simple narratives. You didn't feel lectured, you felt understood.
And Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
That one was so bold, so impassioned. It dared to shine a light on corruption, and yet, through James Stewart's character, it restored faith in democracy. Capra trusted the audience to handle sincerity. In today's cynical world, that kind of storytelling is rare. He believed in ideals without being naive. There was a courage in that.
He won 3 Oscars for Best Director.
A rare feat, and so well deserved. But I think his true reward was in how many lives he touched. People still revisit his films during holidays, during hard times, because they offer comfort. Capra said, "Don't follow trends, start them." And he did just that. He showed that a director could stand for values, and those values could make a movie unforgettable.
What would it have been like to work with him?
I would have cherished the opportunity. I imagine it would have been both challenging and uplifting. He had a reputation for being meticulous, but never cruel. He treated actors as collaborators, as people that made all the difference. He didn't just direct scenes, he directed emotions.
Do you have a favorite Capra film?
That's a difficult choice. You can't take it with you, has such a joyful spirit, such eccentric charm. But It's a Wonderful Life stays closest to my heart. It dares to look into despair, insists on hope. That film says, "You matter, your life matters." And it says it so tenderly.
He really was the heart of Americana.
Indeed, but not in a flag-waving way, deeply human way. His characters were flawed, unsure, real, and yet they chose goodness. That, to me, is the truest kind of patriotism, compassion, community, dignity. Frank Capra gave us that in every frame.
So would you say his work still teaches us something today?
More than ever. We live in fast times, distracted times. Capra's films invite us to slow down and see the soul in others, to believe that one voice, one act of kindness can shift the world. His films remind us who we are at our best. That's why he's not just number 4 in your countdown. He's forever etched in cinema's conscience.
A beautiful tribute, Ingrid.
Only fitting for a man who gave the world beauty, hope, and enduring light through the lens of film.
We're now entering the top 3, Ingrid. Who holds the number 3 spot on our list of Golden Age directors?
Number 3, John Ford. Now, there was a man who painted with film. His camera didn't just capture the landscape, it felt it. His films were sweeping, majestic, and deeply human. I remember watching The Grapes of Wrath for the first time. It was like stepping into the dust and hardship of that era. He didn't just direct a story, he immersed you in a world.
He's synonymous with the American Western.
Absolutely. Stagecoach, The Searchers, he shaped the very idea of what a Western could be. But beyond the horses and the dusty plains, his films had a striking emotional undercurrent. He was faceted by resilience, by the silent strength of ordinary people, and he had such respect for the land. It was never ever just a backdrop, it was a character in itself.
What do you think made his characters stand out?
Their silence, their resolve. Ford didn't need dramatic monologues. His characters revealed themselves in glances, gestures, in their choices under pressure. That kind of storytelling takes immense skill. He trusted the audience to feel without being told. There's a poetry in that.
Did you ever meet him?
Briefly, at an event in the late 40s, he had this quiet authority about him, not flashy, not boastful, just a presence. I remember he said very little, but when he did speak, everyone listened. There was wisdom in his brevity.
And how about The Searchers?
Such a complex film. At first glance, it's a rescue story, but it's also about obsession, about identity, about home. John Wayne, under Ford's direction, was both heroic and haunted. Ford didn't shy away from uncomfortable truths. He confronted them head on and trusted us to grapple with them.
Would you have liked to work with him?
Very much. though I think he preferred his actors to come to him fully formed. He molded the world, and you had to find your place in it. But what an honor it would have been to be part of a landscape so grand, so raw, so honest.
He won 4 Academy Awards for Best Director.
A record that still stands, and yet I think Ford would have shrugged it off. Awards weren't his aim. Truth was. He had a way of distilling human experience into something timeless. Whether you were watching a cowboy on a cliff or a family in a jalopy, you felt the pulse of something greater. That's rare.
What would you say was his lasting gift to cinema?
Courage. He dared to tell stories of hardship, of dignity in the face of despair. He showed that silence can speak volumes, that beauty and brutality often coexist. And he did all with a painter's eye and a philosopher's heart. John Ford didn't just film America, he explored its soul.
Beautifully said, Ingrid. Ingrid, we've arrived at number 2. Who claims this spot?
Billy Wilder. Now there was a man who could dance between shadows and spotlights with equal brilliance. He had such rich wit, sharp, biting, and always purposeful, but behind the cynicism was such tenderness. Sunset Boulevard, Double Indemnity, Some Like It Hot, they weren't just stories. They were warnings, confessions, and celebrations of human contradiction.
You've mentioned before he had a unique way of blending comedy with darkness.
Exactly. Billy could take despair and dress it in laughter, or take a joke and hide a heartbreak in it. In The Apartment, he made corporate loneliness feel romantic and tragic all at once. And in Double Indemnity, he gave Noir its edge, every glance, every line of dialogue, a tightrope between guilt and seduction.
Was there something in his directing style that stood out to you?
Precision. He wrote many of his own scripts, and every word was measured. He trusted language, but never overused it. He knew when to pause, when to cut, when to surprise. And his characters, they were never neat or noble. They were flawed, selfish, funny, scared, just like us. That was Wilder's gift, stripping away artifice until you saw something raw and real underneath.
Do you recall your first impression of him?
Yes, I met Billy at a party in Los Angeles sometime in the early 50s. He had this devilish grin, and you could tell. He saw everything. He observed people like a playwright, not just a director. He listened more than he spoke, but when he did speak, it was like a line from one of his films. Clever, cutting, memorable.
Would you have liked to work with him?
Very much. Though I always wondered what part would he see me in. I often played women with tragic weight, and Billy could have turned that on its head. Imagine me in a Wilder comedy, caught in some macabre situation, delivering zingers between cocktails. That would have been a thrill.
Do you think his European background influenced his American films?
Absolutely. Billy had seen both the horrors of war and the glitter of Hollywood. That duality gave him perspective. He didn't romanticize the American dream. He dissected it. With calm, yes, but also with scalpel-sharp honesty. He understood exile, ambition, reinvention, and he never flinched from complexity.
He won multiple Oscars, didn't he?
Yes, Best Director and Best Screenplay, and deservedly so. But Wilder was more than an award winner. He was a moralist in disguise. His films asked questions that lingered long after the credits. What are we willing to trade for love, for success, for truth? And he asked it all with a wink.
What do you think audiences learn from his films?
That no one is just one thing. A villain might love deeply, a fool might see clearly, a cynic might still believe in something pure. Wilder's films taught us to look deeper, to question appearances, and to laugh, especially when it hurt.
He's been quoted saying, "If you're going to tell people the truth, be funny or they'll kill you."
A perfect summation of his art. He told us truths wrapped in jokes, revelations disguised as punchlines. He made us chuckle, and then made us think. That's power.
Ingrid, what would you say Billy Wilder's legacy is?
Creative freedom, emotional freedom. He showed that films could be anything, serious, silly, romantic, ruthless, and still say something vital. He respected his audience's intelligence. He dared us to confront ourselves while we were still smiling. Billy Wilder didn't just make movies, he made mirrors, and he made them sparkle.
We've reached number 1. Ingrid, I think many might guess who sits at the top, but tell us who claims that final spot.
It could only be Alfred Hitchcock, the master of suspense, yes, but also the master of cinema. To work with him was to step into a world where every shadow, every silence, every camera angle had purpose. He didn't just direct scenes, he orchestrated tension like a composer with a symphony.
You worked with him multiple times, didn't you?
Yes, 3 unforgettable times, Spellbound, Notorious, and Under Capricorn. Each film a different flavor of suspense, romance, psychological intrigue. With Alfred, you were always a little off balance, and that's exactly where he wanted you. He was a genius of unease.
What was it like being directed by Hitchcock?
He was precise, extremely precise. He storyboarded everything before filming down to the blink of an eye. But he gave his actors great freedom within that framework. I never felt stifled, I felt guided. He trusted me to find the emotion, the tension, the truth inside the frame he had so carefully constructed.
And he had a reputation for being distant with actors.
He could be, but I think people misunderstood that. He wasn't cold, he was focused. He lived inside the world he was building. And he loved his actresses, really. He loved crafting characters around them. He once told me, Ingrid, I don't want you to act, I want you to be. That trust is rare and terrifying and wonderful.
Notorious is still considered one of the greats.
Thank you, it was such a bold film, espionage, forbidden love, guilt, sacrifice. That kiss between Cary Grant and me, it's still discussed because of how Hitchcock structured it. He bypassed the censorship codes with rhythm, short kisses, murmured lines, more kisses. It wasn't just romantic, electric and deeply emotional.
Did he ever surprise you?
Always. He had a wicked sense of humor. He once sent me a note during filming, don't forget to blink. That was Hitchcock. A man who could joke about blinking while filming your deepest emotional close-up. And he understood psychology, how to tap into fear, guilt, voyeurism, rear window, vertigo, the psycho. Those aren't just thrillers, they're psychological case studies.
Do you think he changed cinema?
Without question, he taught us how to see. He made the camera a character, an accomplice, a voyeur, a judge. He used silence as a suspense, music as menace, and ordinary people as heroes or suspects. He made fear an art form, and he never pandered. He respected the audience's intelligence.
What do you think he sought in storytelling?
Control, not in a sinister way, but in the sense of knowing exactly how he wanted you to feel. He believed in showing, not telling, in creating tension through anticipation, not action. And above all, he wanted to take you on a journey to unsettle you, seduce you, and then leave you breathless.
Would you call him the greatest director you ever worked with?
That's hard to say. There have been so many extraordinary ones. But Hitchcock, he was singular, a category unto himself. His films are still studied, imitated, revered, and yet no one does it quite like he did. Working with him was like standing on the edge of a cliff and trusting that he would catch you with the camera. He always did.
What do you think his lasting impact is?
Suspense, certainly, but also elegance, structure, psychology. He proved that thrillers could be art, that fear could be beautiful, that a story could haunt you not through violence, but through suggestion. His fingerprints are on every modern thriller, every twist ending, every gasp in the dark. He didn't just master the medium, he redefined it.
A perfect note to end our countdown. Ingrid, thank you for guiding us through this incredible journey.
It's been a joy. These directors didn't just shape films, they shaped us. And Alfred, he left us looking over our shoulders, listening for footsteps, and loving every second of it.
Well said. To all the legends of the Golden Age, thank you for the light, the shadow, and the stories. And with Alfred Hitchcock at number one, our journey through the Golden Age of directors comes to a close. Ingrid, what a gift it's been having you guide us through each of these legends.
Thank you. It's been a joy to revisit these masters. Men who shaped not just my career, but the very language of cinema. Their stories still echo, their artistry still stirs us, and their shadows stretch far beyond their time.
You've given us such vivid insight, not just into their work, but into their spirit.
They were craftsmen, risk-takers. Each one brought something distinct, something bold, and through it all they reminded us that film is more than entertainment, it's emotion. Remember humanity captured on celluloid?
Do you think that magic still lives in cinema today?
Oh, absolutely. The tools may have changed, but the soul remains. As long as there are stories to tell and hearts to reach, that light will never go out. It's up to each new generation to carry it forward.
Beautifully said. On behalf of all of us, thank you, Ingrid, for your memories, your wisdom, and your deep love for the art.
It's been my pleasure. These directors, they didn't just direct films, they directed feelings, dreams, entire eras, and now they live on in reels and hearts alike.
Until next time, dear listeners, keep watching, keep feeling, and never stop discovering the beauty of classic cinema.
And remember, every frame tells a story. Just listen closely.